Ah, perfect. Just the person I need to see. Firstly, loving the outfit, by the way. Really suits your hair. Secondly, the universe is falling apart. I don't have much time to yet. I need to shoot off. I need to do something. But by all means, this is imperative. Watch Type 40. The Type 40 podcast is where you need to be. Seguida!
Hello. Time for Type 40 Live, materialising here again for you with show 151, chock full of space and time and space, whichever way around you prefer those. We're here again with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your screen in real time on Rumble, on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook too, in real time, always in front of a live chat full of friends, fans, and companions just like you. Yes, we're into single digits of days now until the first series, that crucial season 1 of all new Doctor Who takes flight, maybe, off through the vortex. We can hope, can't we? Who knows? 8 episodes over 7 weeks in the new series. We're braced for impact one way or another. I think he probably is as well. Yeah, you've got a lot to answer for. You have, Sunshine. But the rest of us here, yeah, we're I think we're as game as and as ready as we'll ever be. What about you? Yes, hello. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Welcome back to the show for another one. How many days are we out from New Doctor Who now? I think it depends on who you listen to, isn't it? Whether it's the BBC or whether it's Disney Plus. Don't listen to any of them. Listen to us here in the console room at Type 40 Live. We're going to bring on our playmates in a moment. We're streaming this, as always, to all the usual places, including the Type 40 Facebook group. So don't forget, if you're in the Facebook group, hit the little blue link. Then Facebook will tell StreamYard precisely who you are, and Facebook will tell us and all the rest of it. It'll all connect somehow. I'm aware I've got that completely wrong, but I've said it so many times. It was bound to happen sooner or later, wasn't it? Yeah. You won't catch him saying the wrong thing, would you? Well, it depends who you talk to, doesn't it? Yes, so where are we? Yeah, this is where we track the whole of the Whoniverse, not just him, absolutely everything. So we're in our own dimension, really, and the laws of time don't apply. Well, they certainly don't. The amount of times we overrun, and cancel culture, that certainly doesn't. We don't have any of that nonsense here whatsoever. The adults are in the room after all, although we do reserve the right to bring in toys now and again. Isn't that right, everybody? Yes, so I'm going to... Where should we hide? Where should we find to? Yeah, so it's been chaos, absolute chaos in the Whoniverse over the last week or two. There's been bombs dropped left, right and centre, hasn't it? Not just from him, but from the other one too, the showrunner, and lots of other people connected with Doctor Who. I thought it's far easier to find somewhere to hide, wait it all out, so I could have a good look down at the battlefield and see what is left standing. So the ideal place, I thought, would be this. So we're going to fill it up now, fill up the attic with some of our friends. First of all, who do we have? She was boasting to me how she doesn't need to wear a cardigan or a woolly of any kind at the moment, but knowing she's coming back up to the attic, you may want to put an extra layer on after all, Charlotte.
No, I'm going to actually be spring for once in my life, considering I had a jumper during the day at work, which I regretted very quickly.
Okay.
So I was like, now I'm actually having a proper t-shirt and something a bit less wintry.
Good to know. Good to know. What do you think of the attic then here?
Oh, I love Sarah Jane, and I've like as soon as you saw that, I had the voice of Mr. Smith in my head because he was such a big part of that set, and he was. Oh, I loved. He was so sarky. That's what I loved about Mr. Smith. Like him and K9 having a bit of an argument was always my favourite bits of those episodes.
Yeah, that's Alexander Armstrong, isn't it? Who does that game show on the BBC? What's it called?
Yeah, that's like people forget he's actually a really good actor now because he's known for that presenting Pointless.
Pointless, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, with the guy with the glasses. Yeah, I think they've done Doctor Who specials of that a time or two, haven't they? The sparring match between Mr. Smith and K9, the odd moment where we got that, it reminded me a little of the way that Zen and Aurak used to go at one another on Blake 7. You might not remember that, Charlotte, but I suspect that John Yulden, he might remember that. Do you remember that, John?
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, to be honest with you, because I'm a Who fan big time. But yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, But disgraceful. Get out of here, Dan. Get out of here.
So, what do you think about the attic here? Did you always? I was a grown man. I was an adult when the Sarah Jane Adventures was on, but I still wanted to have a rummage around in here, I have to say, and that wasn't just to see if I could find where Sarah Jane kept her smalls.
Oh, you as well. Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? I did like this set. I always used to cringe a bit with the organ music when it used to, Mr. Smith,
yeah, when it opened, it was
whatever it was. Yeah,
you'd get all the dry ice that was left over from Top of the Pops, wouldn't you? That they couldn't use on that anymore.
Yeah.
When the doors would fling open. Yeah, it was a very elaborate prop. Simon Horton, he's a massive fan of Sarah Jane Smith. I wonder if he ever imagined that he may one day venture up into the attic.
Well, I'm going to amaze you now because I worked with Alexander Armstrong before he was famous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. I worked. It was one of my very first jobs in television. So it would have been about 1997, something like that, 96, 97. And he was doing, along with his Ben Miller, his partner at the time. So it was Armstrong and Miller, wasn't it? Back in the day when they were a double act. And he was doing a Sky TV comedy show. It was his very first television work, and it was one of my first jobs in TV as well. And I worked on that first series of Armstrong and Miller that went out on Sky, as I recall. And who would have thought all these years later he would be Mr. Smith? But I'm with John. I used to cringe. To be honest, I still cringe. Nobody loves Liz Slade more than I do. But I used to cringe every time she used to say, Mr. Smith, I need you. It was just so cheesy. Just so, it sets my teeth on edge. Sorry.
Sounded a little wrong, didn't it? Like when you said you worked with Alexander Armstrong in your first job, I thought maybe you'd both worked at Greg's or something like that together. I didn't.
Cheeky bugger.
But yeah, this is where Sarah Jane Smith used to hang out with all her friends. They were investigating, weren't they, and tracking various alien artifacts and solving everyday problems as well that they got going on at school and with their parents and things like that. Wholesome adventure television. I think that Doctor Who could do a lot worse than to take a leaf out of the book of the Sarah Jane Adventures. What do you think, Ian David Diaz? Because I know you're a great big kid at heart. Did you make the time for the Sarah Jane Adventures?
I did see a couple of episodes. I wasn't really a fan. I thought it was shot very cheaply. And again, no. Again, if you're going to make a kid show, you always try the best kid shows always try to aim for the adults rather than the kids, and the kids would connect even more with it. But this was very much, kiddified, basically. The only episodes I did watch is the ones where David Tennant turned up and Matt Smith turned up, and I enjoyed them completely. But some of the costumes are really laughable in this. As I said, I tried it, and it wasn't for me. But I understand why people liked it. Personally,
I kind of agree with you, Ian. For me, it was worth watching purely for Liz Lane. And it was, I could watch Liz Lane reading the telephone directory, and I would have still been glued to the screen. So it was worth watching for me.
And I think even people who liked it will admit it took about a series for them to sort of find their feet as to how they were going to do it, what format, like how much they would do it, how close was it going to be like Doctor Who. How much was it going to be its own thing? It did take a series for them to sort of fine tune it a little bit.
For me, it just thinks of disrespecting kids when you make something for kids. You should never make it for kids. You should always try and aim a little higher. Don't presume that they're going to be thinking this way. Always try and aim for some. In my opinion, when you make,
I do think that's very, very harsh. As somebody who was raising kids in the target demographic of this show at that time, this was far more intelligent than anything else that was on kids' TV at the time. Stuff like MI High, decent quality drama.
Yes.
I can't comment because I only saw 2 episodes, so I'm just saying the episodes that I saw.
I can comment to being that age. It was definitely more than a lot of the other stuff on CBBC at that point.
What was that one called, Dan? Something high?
MI High.
MI. There were several adventure dramas for kids around that time, and some of them were great. There was this thing called Raven, which was a bit like the Adventure Game. It was sort of like part dramatized, and they were fun. But the Sarah Jane Adventures was a cut above them. We'll have to do some reviews.
Reboot was good. Anybody watch that? Reboot?
Yeah, that was in the 90s. That was aimed at older kids, wasn't it, as well? Yeah, CGI and all that kind of thing.
We got Sonic lipstick out of it, though, didn't we?
see that to me.
That made your day, didn't it, John?
Yeah. It's in the drawer.
It's worth it for that alone, isn't it? Yes, let us know your memories of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and did you ever want to scramble through the attic like I did? Before we get stuck into the rest of it, I want to thank you for all the support we had for show 150 last week. So many people watched that and shared it and commented and interacted. Lots of new people too, so that's really, really appreciated. We had a blast. Think you did too, and here we are again, just 5 days. That's not how it works.
7 days.
I've got a big 5 in front of me. 7 days later. My God, I've been time traveling. Just 7 days later, we're back to do it all again.
Dan, can I just ask, have you been sucking blue Smarties? You're like hyper tonight. You're on the roll, mate.
No more than usual. But part of this excitement comes from when I get things like this, because episode 150 last week, I only got us a bit of fan art. Check out this homage to Doctor Who magazine 150 that we had coming from Darren Bradley. This was done in our honour.
Oh, Darren, we love that.
So we got
brilliant. I love the Doctor Who underpants on the front there.
I'm a bit worried Darren's actually got those underpants.
Also, my favourite has to be Ian with his new love interest in the bottom.
Charles dress.
Just genius. Love that. Well done, Darren. Cracking. Really, really good.
Long-term readers will remember that's Ian cozying up to Hugh Grant, his long-time pick for Doctor. We've got the Shargoyle at the top there. Shargoyle pub crawl there in the Spice Girls dress. There's Buck on the grog as well. Ian says Hugh Grant pillow talk with Jinx. And I think meet the new Yaz as well. So I think they're talking about the woman on the left, but I couldn't possibly comment about that now. And
I love the cartoon of the Caves of Entrazani right in the middle there.
Golden moments, and yes, what a pair. And what a pair we make with Darren too. So he's been watching us a long time and commenting along and interacting and sending us some fantastic stuff. I'm sure there'll be more all in good time. Thank you.
And again, listen, to be really, really boring, again, Darren and I worked together on one of my other first jobs in television on the Doctor Who wedding in Wales, in Llangollen. Darren was there. Hello, Darren. Yeah, he was there. He helped out.
I keep forgetting about all these things.
All these people
you've met, all these things that you've done.
Simon's been around.
Extraordinary. In the nicest possible way. In the nicest possible way, he has. Yes, they're about to get around. Yes, for 7 8 weeks, 8 episodes of all new Doctor Who. That's coming up soon. We're going to talk about some more of that. Of course, we are, unfortunately, we know there have been tough times over the last few weeks. It's been very, very testing. But you know what we say here, don't you, Ian?
Well,
go on, say it. Get out.
Good luck, everybody.
Of course. What else?
I've never understood that. What's that all about?
Oh, come on, Ian.
I mean, I know it's John Pertwee and he was the Doctor, but what is?
Well, it's Wurzel Gummidge. It's Wurzel Gummidge getting picked up by the time scoop from the 5 Doctors.
But why?
Well, why not?
Why?
Because it's funny.
It's funny. It's funny.
Oh, it's meant to be funny.
Same
okay.
face, just slightly different look. That's
the spin-off. That's the spin-off we want. We want Gummidge on Gallifrey.
Yeah.
We had to remind Ian about one of the shows he was on last week. We'll make it through together, Ian.
He's in his own little world, is Ian?
What with Ian not remembering anything like that, and me not knowing what day it is. God, this is going to be a good one, isn't it, everybody? This is the spot in the show where we break down the happenings from across the Whoniverse. And where else could we go after that than to Ray? Is it Ray in Lancaster? So this is where they're holding the annual Ray Scarecrow Festival and Fair. Anybody ever been to this?
No.
no.
So you're going to wonder why I'm bringing this up. Yeah,
why are you bringing this up, Dan?
This is still on. It's on until May the 6th. And check it out. This year, the theme is sci-fi. This festival started all the way back in 1992. So it's been on for a week already. And so you've missed the fun run, the dog agility display.
Oh, Lenny would have won.
And you've missed the silent disco.
Oh, damn.
But the scarecrows themselves, they are still everywhere if you make the trek to Lancaster. And you can see such as these. There's lots of Doctor Who ones that are there for the sci-fi theme, like this Cyberman. Check him out.
That is the scariest Cyberman I have ever seen.
It's like a part converted Pertwee and Vok robot, isn't it?
My God,
that's deeply disturbing.
Soiled his pants or something.
Now, even though John Pertwee is the one that we associate with scarecrows from Wurzel Gummidge, you've got Tom Baker one. What'd you make of that?
Equally scary.
He's got Colin Baker's hair, hasn't he, Simon?
I don't know what he's got. I don't know whose eyes he's got, that's for sure, or whose nose. It's definitely John Pertwee's nose.
Of course, there's got to be Daleks, Charlotte.
Oh, yes.
It'd be criminal if there wasn't.
The left one's actually got quite a bit of work on it for a Dalek.
Yeah.
They're trying to get all the bits of it, aren't they?
And the right one is like the ones that were in the Time Lords song, Doctor in the TARDIS. The square ones on little casters.
the right ones from the new series.
We've got a circular one there, along with a TARDIS. The windows are too big, John. You're going to break it to them, or shall I?
Oh, imagine.
But they made an effort, though, didn't they? It looks
there's only 4 windows per door. There should be 6. I know. I'm getting my coat. I'm off now.
But it's great, though. It looks great.
It's brilliant.
And it's not just Doctor Who stuff there. You've got some Marvel characters, some Disney characters. You've got Lilo and Stitch. You've got
Star Trek.
Spock.
Yeah,
and Scotty.
You know how much effort it takes to make
it's fantastic.
Like I mean, you got to take your hat off to
there's E.T. I've just spotted E.T. on the left as well.
Yeah,
E.T. was on the bike. Yes, you've got a few days left to get to Lancaster to Ray Scarecrow Festival and Fair. Charlotte, do you like a scarecrow or two?
Yes and no. Honestly,
there's no right or wrong answer to that one, Charlotte.
I've not been around, even though I live in a bit countrified. There's not lots of scarecrows around here.
See, this is how you can tell the British summertime's on the way, Simon. This is what we want. Is what the weather to warm up, and we want to be able to get out there and enjoy the countryside. And yeah, I've always found scarecrows a little scary. partly, I think from childhood, come to think of it, John Pertwee did freak me out as Wurzel Gummidge, but Doctor Who itself hasn't done anything to cure my fear of scarecrows, that they could come to life. A little bit like the Master did in Marco the Rani. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and we're still talking about it. We're still wondering, why did the Master get dressed up as a scarecrow for no apparently good reason?
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a fetish. I honestly think it's just a Master fetish that he just has a desire to get dressed up as a scarecrow. Why not? Why not?
You could be right. I never looked at it like that. It was a strange thing to do, wasn't it?
A very odd thing to do. Very strange. Never explained
Yeah.
it.
So it has partly inspired me. I'm tempted to have a go at making my own Doctor Who scarecrow. I'm not sure which incarnation of the Doctor I'll go for, Ian, but it's a challenge, isn't it? It's a creative challenge.
Good luck.
Do you like getting out in the countryside, mate, for some bracing air?
To tell you the truth, I do like the countryside, but I can't. I live in London, right? So there's noise everywhere. I can't sleep without noise. You know what I mean? When I go to the countryside and I sleep at my friend's place, I can't sleep because it's just too quiet. It's just incredibly quiet. So, but that's just me, right?
So if you can, it's so quiet you can hear a fish fart and you're like freaks you out.
Or freak fart, yeah. Yeah.
Oh God! Yes, let us know what do you make of the Scarecrow Festival. There, have you been to Lancaster to see all that, or have you made one of those Doctor Who scarecrows? If you have, we'd love to see. Get commenting and have them. Join the Type 40 Facebook group, and we'll have them on the wall there as well. If you're handy with the old rags and hay and all the rest of it, from making hay now to touching grass. Anybody to touching grass. And you know what I'm talking about.
You were going to say that.
What?
Oh, the space baby! Hurrah!
Yeah. Even the space baby wonders what on earth this is about. Yeah, because let's get it out of the way. It's him again. Yes.
We were doing so well, Dan. We were having such a good time.
We were having so much fun, weren't we? Talking about scarecrows and things. But not long after we came off air last time on Type 40 Live, Ncuti Gatwa gave another interview, this time to Variety magazine. I don't know if you've seen this because there's been excerpts of it popping up all over the place, and there's lots of little nuggets actually from both him and Russell T Davies, and some of it is more interesting than others. A lot of it is sort of repeat business of things that we've seen before, and the talking points that we've mentioned before, John, that they always tend to go back to. We're getting a lot of them trotted out in various outlets. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they seem to have a certain particular narrative that they like to push, don't they? Not too much about the actual stories themselves, just a particular narrative.
No.
John, did you know that Ncuti Gatwa was gay and he's going to be playing the first gay Black Doctor? Did you know that? Had you picked that up from any of the interviews? They've dropped it very, very subtly. They're not going on a lot about it.
Do you know what, Simon? I didn't, but after the 51st time of being told about it,
it finally went in.
It went in.
We're a bit thick, John. That's Doctor Who fans. We are a bit thick. We do need to constantly be berated about it till it goes in.
So this is courtesy of Variety, and we've got pearls of wisdom from Ncuti Gatwa. Now, Charlotte, we've been looking at this man's face now for over 2 years, and I used to think that this was a really sort of warm and infectious smile, but now it sort of gets on your tits after a bit, doesn't it? Particularly when he comes out with stuff like this. So he's been asked again about identity, and keep in mind that previously Ncuti Gatwa had said publicly how he had felt really nourished and embraced by Doctor Who fandom, that we had really taken him to our hearts over the last couple of years. He felt instantly welcome. Now the narrative seems to be that there's this sort of tide of racism that's been directed his way.
It's probably because Russell's. I wouldn't be surprised if Russell's created some bot account and has gone, look, Ncuti, they don't like you. It's just like, what's going on, Ncuti?
It makes you wonder where it's come from. And he does speak a little bit about it to Variety, because they press him on the matter of sort of the backlash. They use words like backlash and clapback and all these silly sort of buzz terms through the media now. It's not just a social media thing. And he said, I feel like anyone that has a problem with someone who's not a straight white man playing the character, you're not really, truly a fan of the show. Here we are. This is all starting to sound familiar, isn't it, Simon? He says, you've not been watching because the show is about regeneration and the Doctor is an alien. So why wouldn't they only Why would they only choose to be that sort of person? I don't think that's anything that a lot of people particularly disagree with. But it's a mantra that I think we get a little fed up of hearing because it sounds over-rehearsed. In this case, it's unnecessary because reception to him, certainly, most of us here on Type 40 Live and out in the fandom were more than happy to see a non-white actor playing the Doctor. So it was never an issue that I saw. But he topped it off. I think what has really got people's goat is that he topped it off by saying that if people have a problem with Doctor Who going woke, I mean, it has been over the last few years. It's got a reputation as being the most woke show on TV, Simon. And that's a title that's been fairly earned, hasn't it? You can't say that is not unfair. It's not unproven. We can see why.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would be able to argue with that. It is definitely the most woke program on television. I mean, if you just look at the 3 Tennant episodes and then the Christmas one, the amount of woke stuff in there for better or worse, and some people are all up for it. So for some people it might not be a bad thing. I'm not casting judgment on it one way or another. What I am saying is that the amount of woke stuff in there is off the scale. I just kind of wonder. As a gay person myself, I'm not interested whether Ncuti or the Doctor or whatever is gay. I'm bored by this. It doesn't matter. Well, I don't understand why. Yeah, why is it even being discussed? Why have we got to talk about? Not us. Why has it got to be talked about in promotional materials? Why are we having to celebrate this as the first gay actor? To be honest, the gay community fought for years, for decades, to get rid of the labels and just to be treated as normal people like everybody else. I don't want to be labelled. I don't see why we've suddenly got to bring labels back to everybody. Why have we got to justify that he's a gay actor? I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Every time let's rephrase that. We don't often talk about wokeism on this show because I think it can get quite cliched in itself. It can get quite goofy. And there's something about the word woke as well that kind of triggers people. And we always get, every time the word woke leaves my lips, Charlotte, you get a few people pop up in the mentions on social media and things like, so what does woke mean? As if I don't know what woke means. I'll tell anybody who wants to come to me and ask me what woke means. I'm more than happy to tell you in your own time rather than go through it all again. But it's not a ground that we go back to all the time, is it, Charlotte? But when there's instances like this, when the lead actor says something so charged as this, you kind of have to, don't you? It becomes the elephant in the room not to talk about it.
You have to, because Ncuti's from the get-go is basically saying, well, if you don't like me, and it's like, if a normal person, let alone somebody representing a show, was like that, you'd go, right, I'm not going to talk to you because you're already from the get-go being aggressive to me. You're assuming I don't like you when I've not even said anything to you. Like, it has that vibe. And it's like, he's had 1 episode. So he's not even had a series out and he's already on the defensive.
And the other thing is
already causing like a defense, like that thing of, well, it's if you just don't like black people or you don't like gay people or you don't like this.
We're back to that misconception, aren't we? That to be anti-woke and wokeism in any way, or just suspicious of wokeism, means that for some reason that means you therefore don't want to see non-white people on television, or you don't want to see gay people on television, or that you're anti-T people. And the two things, it's not the same thing, John. And I'm surprised that people still think it is.
Yeah, it's not. Do you know? I know two things really. One thing I would say is that the show has already failed. To put a football analogy, is already failed before you've even kicked the ball, because you're effectively antagonizing a lot of your potential audience. So that's idiotic to do that. But the second thing that I really don't like about this is, if anything, this stokes racism, because they're putting this in articles that kids are going to read and kids are going to grow up reading. And that is going to create, from a kid who's going to absorb information, you're going to create kids who think like that. When, you know, everyday people in everyday walks of life, they don't think like this.
No.
They just respect people and they treat people decently. But there just seems to be this narrative at the moment where they just seem to want to go after people. I don't know why. It's like they haven't got enough.
Yeah. And to me, so far, the way they're carrying on the interviews, not just Ncuti, Russell's doing it as well. It's like
Yes, he is, yeah.
You're almost, to me, saying you're not confident in your own material, because if you're already having to set up your defenses, if you're already trying to get those talking points way out beforehand, then it's like you don't honestly think your work's going to stand up then, does it? Because you should be talking about your work. You should be talking about, like we said, the stories, the characters, monsters, the sort of twists without revealing too much. Like that should be what should be in the press interviews at the moment.
And because, Charlotte, we've seen and heard this all before across a myriad of movies and TV shows, most of them actually made by Disney, come to think of it, through Marvel Studios or through Pixar or one thing or another. We've heard and seen this all so many times. That's why we roll our eyes, because it's almost like a mantra that they're issued on an A4 piece of paper, or it's sent to their phone. Recite this in this tone of voice, and you will adhere to the narrative, Ian. It's incredibly annoying, immensely patronising, and it hasn't helped anybody on either side of the aisle in the last 5-6 years. Why on earth would it start now? I mean, in some ways, I blame Variety, because it's them that worded the question, because they put it to him. They put it to him, the idea, like, what have you got to say to the people out there in the fandom that Doctor Who is going woke simply because the franchise now has a diverse lead? So that's Variety that say that. But Ncuti's response to that was this. He said, don't watch. Turn off the TV. Go and touch grass, please, for God's sake.
I mean, that's just such a closed, horrific statement to make, isn't it? Because instead of trying to say, well, hold on, let's talk about this and let's find a way through this as society. Instead, he's just basically saying, well, if you don't agree with me, just literally F off.
Fuck off.
And he's being literally that precise about it. And it's the last bit, isn't it? Please, for God's sake. In other words, I don't want to engage with you. I don't want to talk about this. It's not open for discussion. You're just clearly not with me, so you're against me. So push off. It's just terrible. And then, of course, what we will get is this will and Ncuti himself has already sort of alluded to this in previous interviews, where he's almost sort of preempting it by saying, look, if this doesn't work, if it doesn't work with me in the role, it's because of racists and homophobes. And it's just God, what a car crash. How did we get to this? How did we get to it?
This is the man that is leading this show at the threshold of a crucial reinvention. I think this reinvention of the show is far more important for its long-term future than even the one in 2004, 2005. And he's coming out and giving people reasons not to watch. You know, grass at this time of year does start to look very inviting. So the fact of the matter is, Ian, that if you phrase it in such a way to license fee payers, to your target audience, it stands a chance a lot of them are going to go and do just that, aren't they? They're going to take the grass option. What do you think, Ian?
He's saying all this stuff because he knows the show's going to fail. And the reason why he's saying this is to blame racism on the failure of the show that's coming up. This is an old tactic. They did it with Star Wars, especially the TV shows. They did it with Star Trek as well, with the Discovery. So this is nothing new here. With Ncuti, basically that's what he's doing, and that's what's going to happen, and the show's gonna fail, I guess. So, you know,
anybody who's been following genre content in particular, Ian, but entertainment in general, has seen all the plays out of this playbook time and time again, haven't we? Even down to that, if you don't like it, switch off, touch grass, do X, Y, or Z instead. It's such a cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, but let me ask everyone a question, right? If this show is going woke, and I hate using that word because if you look up the dictionary, woke doesn't really mean what it's been developed into.
Agree.
But you know what I mean.
It's certainly got nothing
to go with it.
It hasn't got anything to do with that, with just the basic presence of non-white people.
But if the show is going this way and you don't like it, don't watch. Then that's what I'm gonna.
You're taking his advice?
I'm taking his advice. I'm not going to touch grass though, because he can go and F off basically.
Yeah.
But I'm just not going to watch because this is not Doctor Who.
I'm struggling at this point, Ian. I literally am still undecided as to whether or not I'm watching it. I don't want to watch it. A really big part of me doesn't want to watch it because of what's been happening in recent weeks. I am really, really put off this. And if anything, at this stage, the only reason I will be watching is purely to see whether I'm wrong. It's as simple as that. I'm going in at the moment with the full expectation that I will be right, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. But that's the wrong reason to be going into watching a program. I should be going into watching it because I want to watch it, not because I'm waiting to sort of see the car crash and think, okay, well, at least I feel justified now in making those decisions. But if I do, to be very clear, if I do decide to watch this, I can assure everybody that I will give it a fair crack of the whip because I still want to like Doctor Who. I'm just really, really struggling for enthusiasm at the moment.
You see, the difference between you and me is that, morally speaking, for me, I cannot watch this show. I've said this last episode as well. I can't be watching the show. And if you guys want to ignore that, then go ahead, be my guest and ignore it. But for me, I'm not turning. Sorry.
And you're in many ways a better man for all that, to be honest, Ian.
I don't know if I'm a better man, but
it's almost like, you know, for goodness sakes, I've been watching this show for 52 years. It is definitely kind of a sense of duty now. I'm just watching it because that's what I do.
It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in a way it is. Yeah.
And, you know, I get what Ian's saying. I'm similar to you, Simon, but I think I'm at that point now where I am. Look, with friends for reviewing, I'll do it for that perspective. But from actual being engaged in it, I'm no longer engaged in it. And if I'm honest, I checked out of Jodie Whittaker. I watched a few of those. And I was like, no, this isn't Doctor Who for me. And I think to myself now, why do I want to invest in a guy that is literally telling me to get lost?
Yeah.
When I can go back quite happily and I can watch episodes from 1963 up to 2017 and I'll be absolutely happy. I'll be comfortable and I won't have any of this nonsense going on. That's where I am with it now because that's what they want. And I did the same with Star Trek. I did the same with Star Wars. You know,
I have with both of those two brands, but they don't mean as much to me as Doctor Who does. I mean, for your lead actor to come out and say something like this, is Ncuti Gatwa was a human being, and by all accounts, evidence over the last couple of weeks, we've seen him do plenty of promo on British TV and in the media, and it's quite likely, it does seem to be that, as talented as he is, that he's an imbecile, and that's okay.
No, I don't, Dan. I don't think that's the case. I think he's been well briefed. And, you know, he can't be that stupid. There's no way this man is that stupid. I think he's been briefed. See
evidence, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, you both, mate. I just think he's been briefed to say all this nonsense. That's what I think. I don't know.
I'm really not sure, as you're right, Ian, in a way. Obviously, I hope you are. I'm not sure you're right. I mean, what we, of course, want to see is actually just a sensible interview where he talks about sensible stuff. I mean, I can remember, I literally got to the stage with Ncuti where couple of years ago, you know, he's a good-looking bloke, had no problem with him whatsoever. Now I'm actually at the stage where I don't want to see his face. His face is annoying me. Just looking at this grinning person on screen, like I'm sorry, it's actually irritating me now, and I don't want to be irritated.
The way I feel about it is that, in all seriousness, this man needs to be managed better. It's not that it's not his fault. He's a grown man. He's 32 years of age. I'd like to think he's got a little bit more about him than this. If this is the sort of stuff that he feels, say this hasn't been given to him to say, and this is how he genuinely feels, I cannot understand that, and people should have their own thoughts. But this isn't the kind of thing you say when you're out promoting your multi-million-pound TV show that's at a really precise important balancing point in its future. And I'm sure, and you've got Russell T Davies saying stuff that's almost as daft as well. And I'm sure that Julie Gardner, who does seem to be the only sane professional left around the show, she said this. She said in the same piece, I want every person in the world to watch Doctor Who. With Disney Plus, we can just get bigger and get better reach, and it feels like exactly where Doctor Who should be. Now, that's proper PR. That's a proper call to the like Doctor Who's back. You need to see this. This is for everybody. This is what they should be saying, surely.
And yet the contradiction is her star is saying, "Don't watch it if you're not with us." It's a complete contradiction.
And interestingly, I was just going to say, at the premiere, Russell T Davies said, he goes, "Even if you're as straight as a nail, there's something in this show that you can enjoy." Oh, hallelujah! And yet he's been coming out the last 2 weeks, basically slagging everybody else off, just like Ncuti, and saying this isn't for you. So, which one is it?
Even if there's an episode, even if there's like 5 episodes, that's good. I'm sorry, the core of the idea of the show is morally wrong. In my opinion, that's the one reason why I'm not watching.
I'm aware that's what you're struggling with, Charlotte.
I think the problem is, and I think this surrounds a lot of the production in general, whether that's Russell, whether that's Ncuti, whether that's some others in connection, and Julie seems to not be infected with this. I think there's a real vanity issue at the moment, that they're not thinking beyond themselves. Ncuti, to me, comes across that he's not thinking, I'm the figurehead, I'm the face, I'm promoting a well-loved British television show. He's just thinking, well, I'm going to say what I want to say in interviews. And like when it's like off the cuff, yeah. But when you're doing your press circuit and when it's your first series as the Doctor on our screen properly, you actually need to have a bit of hindsight and you need to think a bit more carefully. But he comes across as he's just thinking for him. Russell comes across as he's just doing stuff that he wants to do now in the show, not what's good for the general audience, what he's not thinking about what's going to help the show grow into when it comes to audience.
He's being self-indulgent, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just thinking, I want this actor, I want this character, I want this storyline. That's what it's coming across.
Well, that's Disney's MO, isn't it?
Yeah.
Disney's MO. So I don't understand why you're surprised or even talk. We know what Disney's all about.
No, I'm not saying. Oh yeah, of course, but I'm saying Russell seems to. It's like all the sort of inhibitions he might have had previously with the show, all the carefulness he might have had, all the sort of thoughtfulness he might have had previously.
Yeah,
it's like that has all been taken away now, and that's why I said vanity. Because it's not, I can do what I want.
That measured way that he used to approach things, that ear for the everyday person in the street, and a kind of a ringmaster kind of ambience he used to have about himself.
In order to do that, you need to put yourself to the background. You need to put your own wants and needs to backstage because you're doing what's good for the show. And I think I get what you're saying, Ian. Yeah, of course, Disney's full of vanity. But I feel like Russell, and I think Ncuti's almost got some of this off Russell just because he's done so much now. He's clearly worked with him a lot. He's done a lot. Russell's almost mentoring him, it seems to be at this stage.
I would say Disney and Russell are a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And I would say that Ian is right about the fact that he's definitely being briefed and coached on things because, any other era, someone would have been telling him to telling someone to pull the article or pull the interview, but they're not doing that now. And I've already seen today, people are going at Kurt Russell because he said certain things today, but that's on the other side of the fence. So you see the difference and the contrast there with what Disney and Doctor Who are doing with Ncuti and Russell T Davies, and what they think about when someone else says it who's on the other side of the fence. So that's quite interesting. But Russell T Davies is old enough now; he should know better, But again, when he sat with Ncuti, who's the guy? He's like Ncuti's a puppet on a string, isn't he? He's saying Russell T's words.
Well, they're certainly both peddling the same stories, that's for sure.
We're going to find out whether all of this is worth it, whether we can put it to the back of our minds, because it's due to begin on television very, very soon. Doctor Who returns to television all over the world on Disney Plus and on the BBC iPlayer. So a reminder, we get the first 2 episodes on one night in a double bill, and we have the time slots now for the broadcast on BBC One. So Space Babies by Russell T Davies, that's on Saturday the 11th of May 2024. If you're not going to take the iPlayer option, it premieres on terrestrial television, traditional television, at 6:20 p.m. on BBC One there, and that's followed of course by The Devil's Court again by Russell T Davies, and that's at 7:05 on the same night on the same channel. And they top that off with the Eurovision Song Contest. You lucky people, if that's your bag. So I wonder now, is this anybody's bag out there? May the 11th or May the 10th, wherever you are in the world. Let's go and find out what the people in the live chat there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook and X have to say about all of this and what we've been chewing through over the last half an hour or so.
Hi guys, and welcome to Type 40.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us for this edition of the show. We're going to work our way through the live chat and see what people have got to say. Oh, and it's a packed one. It's a packed one as well. So let's see who we've got and let's see what's on their mind, given what we've just been talking about. So we have and it's jumping all over the place. Let's work our way backwards, shall we? On comics, that's our friend Lonnie there, isn't it? He's claiming that it'll be the most unpirated show ever. Simon, so of course, yeah, we do live in a world where entertainment, it is available in the nooks and crannies of the internet, isn't it? You know, if people are too tight to pay for the streaming platforms, they want to try before they buy. And Lonnie believes that this one is not going to score very highly. Very highly at all. What do you think, Simon? Are people going to go out of their way to get this?
I think there's a reasonably good chance that he's right on that particular. I mean, thinking back to 2005 when Rose was pirated. Do you remember a week before Rose was pirated? I don't think anybody would blink an eyelid if the Space Babies was pirated and suddenly released.
Well, it's going to be pirated anyway, isn't it? You know, because once the show is aired, you know, in America, somebody's going to put it out there, and you know.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody will. I don't think they'll be bothered.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They'll be too busy out touching grass. You think on all fours, you know, watching out for the dog's mess. Obviously, Matthew Pounder. Hi, Matthew. Nice, good to have you back. Says they all share the same ideological views, and they may well do, but maybe Julie Gardner does too, John. But she's sensible enough to think of the business, think of the product, think of the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad. I mean, they're the same people that did Dark Materials, aren't they? Which was which was liked by a lot of people. So I'm amazed they're allowing this to go on. But
how could they compare it to something like Stranger Things, though? Stranger Things is not, to use a word, woke at all. And they're talking about, we want Doctor Who to be as big as Stranger Things and stuff. Well, we'll stop doing this crap.
Yeah.
It's easy to catch up with Marvel and Star Wars, isn't it? As I said before, in the toilet.
Tony L asks, how come the 15th Doctor has tattoos? Where did they come from? Apparently, it's a decoration. He's painted his nails. They're not actually tattoos. So it's a fashion. Apparently, it's a fashion thing. Charlotte, is that a big thing? Painted nails like that with the little icons?
Well, I know people paint their nails. I don't know if it's to do like proper like icons on them.
But, psychic nails.
But then in some promotion, he's not wearing it, which is a bit odd. We'll see.
You can tell that's the kind of thing that they come out with when somebody first takes the role. Wouldn't it be fun if we did this? And then they get really bored by it. Do you remember Jodie Whittaker's silly earring that she had? As well. Yeah. We've got a prediction of the ratings here from a very brave man, Matthew Burrows. See, ratings now, the game is completely changing with the iPlayer situation, so I think it's pointless speculating. But Matthew's had a go anyway. 4 million for the first episode and downhill all the way. The second series will be the new Willow, and Disney won't show it. Oh, I think that's pretty conclusive. They will show it, but I know what he's saying.
I think he's right. You know, I think it will get 4 million the first episode because people will be curious, and then it will just go down. If it's bad, that is,
Yeah, I honestly think it now they're doing this premiere at midnight the day before, and people can watch it whatever time during the day, because that has completely changed the way that people watch EastEnders, which, for all intents and purposes, is still the biggest of the serial. Oh no, it isn't actually. Coronation Street's bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yes,
it's
it is.
Still, and it drastically affected. It completely changed the game for EastEnders, and now they premiere certain episodes through the iPLAYER 2. And who would have ever thought that just 5 years ago? Robert Payne's here as well, says a doctor actor should be humble and careful in the role as a king or prime minister would be. Yeah. That's probably a tall order, Simon. But in some respect, when they big up the role as this sort of social ambassador for the country, like a poet laureate or something like that, perhaps Robert's not that far off the mark.
Well, I think he's very close to the mark. I mean, the whole point of the role of the Doctor is that you are something of an ambassador when you take on the role, and you only need to look at all of the actors. Well, certainly most of the previous actors to play the Doctor, they have all mostly been good ambassadors for the show. I can think of, well, in all honesty, I think they've probably all been good ambassadors up until this point. I mean, maybe, there's questionable one or two, but, on the whole, I think he's right. You do have to be an ambassador.
But things didn't get out into the press so easily, did they? Yeah. And also, they were managed better. They were managed quite tightly.
It's a character that's beloved by millions, even billions around the world. And if you're going to come and say all these strange and silly things, then it's not respecting the character, and also it's not respecting the other actors that came before you as well. So, it's a bit insulting that Doctor Who's gone this way, as far as I'm concerned, to the fans.
Yeah, of course. It's like if you see when people play Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
you see the same sort of way the actors talk there.
Yeah,
and even they have to be. I remember when Robert Downey Jr. was doing his promotion when he was first in those Guy Ritchie movies. And you could hear he understood as a non-Brit how important that character is to the British culture because of the importance of those books and then what Holmes became.
But they never changed that character, did they? Every actor that took on that character was Sherlock Holmes. There's an essence to Sherlock Holmes. The same thing with the Doctor. Yeah. Every actor that takes on the Doctor, there's an essence to the Doctor. And it looks like in this, they've just completely thrown that in the bin.
Yeah, there's like a core tenant and like some
tenant.
You know what I mean? A core part, a tenant, and then some sort of change a little bit and add a bit, but they keep to that. And that's what we want to see in a Doctor actor.
That's right, yeah.
I've just got a bit of a warm glow here reading Psychic Beats comments. Ultimately, I don't care what anyone says in interviews. The show will speak for itself. If it's good, at least a fun watch, that's literally all I'm asking for. And I generally speaking, for the most part, I take a lot of what's said in interviews with a pinch of salt as well. It has to be something pretty drastic for me to sit up and go, whoa, you said what? And in this instance, and there was one last week as well with the same actor, I felt that. And I think that there are people out there who generally and genuinely don't care what any of these actors say, or they just don't read it. But I think it's harder to avoid than ever. Now it sort of finds its way onto your feed or into your earshot, and we live in such politicized times where people are so divided, John.
Yeah, I think more and more people are starting to see this though, and they are getting fed up with it. And whereas before, you're right, it would have been maybe kept within a certain fandom, but it's gone further than fandom now, where people are seeing it in their everyday lives, and people are getting sick of it. They're just get lost.
We've got M in the chat who said this is Mega Geek's told you so moment.
I wouldn't go that far. Look, right, I've stated my ground with this show on moral principles. That's why I'm not watching it. But people are going to watch it, and if they think it's enjoyable, they're going to carry on watching it, right? And I've got no problem with that. But I can only speak from my point of view. I'll never tell anyone I told you so. Because I did tell you so. No, I'm joking. But but that's where I stand. Put it that way. I mean, God bless you if you want to watch it. That's all I can say.
We've got similar comments in the live chat. You know, the doctor isn't gay. The doctor isn't straight. The doctor is asexual.
You're right.
Is this just something we've told ourselves in recent years, or is it like you said, Simon? You know, watching this show, growing up, you never give it a moment's thought. It's like wondering about the sexuality of one of the Smurfs, isn't it?
I defy anybody, certainly through the classic years, to find a single moment where the Doctor is sexualized. Not one moment. The one that always gets bandied around is the moment in the Aztecs where the Doctor makes cocoa for Kamika and apparently gets engaged to marriage. And people always bring up that one. I'm like, yeah, but the whole point is the Doctor doesn't know he's doing it. Correct. It's Kamika that's the one that says, "Oh, you've just proposed to me," and the look on the Doctor's face is utter shock. So there isn't a single moment in the classic year when the Doctor is sexualized. And that's absolutely as it should be. 100%. It should never. They dipped their toe into it certainly in the Moffat years, but it was still only a dipping of the toe in. It was tentative rather than anything else.
As I think we've said before, sexualizing and romanticizing are also different. The Doctor is in many respects a very romantic character.
Totally,
but it's not the same thing.
Well,
Gary Akers says in the live chat here, John. Everyone cancelled Disney Plus. Then when they ask you why, say, because Ncuti Gatwa told me not to watch.
Brilliant.
Touch grass. You see, I've got my grass.
You do wonder, don't you? You do wonder whether there's been words behind the scene about that exact quote, whether the BBC or Disney or Bad Wolf have said, "What on earth were you thinking?"
I think Bad Wolf. I can't imagine. I think that Julie Gardner will be aware that is a fucking stupid thing to say.
And I think the BBC will as well.
The BBC too. I think Disney don't care.
No,
maybe not Disney. I'll
tell you what would be interesting then. Obviously, these are all first series of Ncuti going out. This is pre-reviews, pre-fan reaction, pre-viewing figures. It will be very interesting what his tact will be for his second series, if we see actually a very different Ncuti in interviews, because then I think there's your proof that he has been pulled behind the scenes to say, you are not doing that again. Look at what damage it caused.
But I still can't understand it, Charlotte, because I've said this before now, but it amazes me that these interviews are being allowed out. Yeah. I don't understand how the press department of Bad Wolf or the BBC or BBC Studios are not saying, it's just not quite the tack we wanted. I think we maybe need to pull that interview. That's what amazes me.
Yeah, but this is the same group that allowed Davros to happen like it did. So, yeah. and then obviously Dan heard and other people in Type 40 heard. It wasn't till the reaction to that they suddenly realised, oh, we've probably made a big mistake doing this.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's what I mean. I've got a feeling with this current production team, it's going to have to be after the event that they realise some stuff, which is obvious to us.
We've got a comment here, Charlotte, from What's on the Tapes in the live chat on YouTube. Hello, What's on the Tapes? Who said John Pertwee said almost exactly the same thing.
What?
I can't imagine that John Pertwee
said I can't find it in the comments, but apparently it was a more eloquent sort of you can turn the television off comment.
Ah, okay. Did he? I'd be very interested to hear or read John Pertwee's comment about that because maybe we'd stand to be corrected. I don't know.
But the difference was that Pertwee wasn't putting diversity and everything into the show. He was, and it was a success. So, like you say, if we look back in a few weeks' time and Ncuti's era has been a success, okay, I might not like you as a person, but I've got to say, well done, you've nailed it. But I don't think I am going to be doing that. I think I'm going to be saying we've got another She-Hulk.
It's saying that somebody may have said something kind of similar 50 odd years ago in a completely different culture, 5 decades previously, and several production teams ago in a totally different cultural landscape. Is that supposed to be a gotcha moment?
I don't know. If What's on Tapes is still out there, I'd really genuinely be really interested to know exactly what the comment was. Please post the link to wherever it is if it was a press interview.
And what I'll say in response to what to what you're saying, what's in tape. The problem is, Ncuti's not just had one comment where he's been abrasive and he's basically told us to go away. He's had multiple comments and interviews now. So it's not just a one-off sort of, oh, maybe he wasn't thinking,
it's a modus operandi, isn't it?
It's a pattern. That's the problem now. It's a way he's clearly taking in his interviews that he's going to be very defensive, abrasive, sort of having a go before we've even watched him. Like, that's clearly his way at the moment of being in interviews. It's how he's operating.
Of course, I can't prove it, but I would say it just smells of Disney. It looks of Disney. This is mirror for mirror exactly what they were doing with Star Wars.
Yeah, it is.
And they were attacking the fans. They were coming out with the Moses Ingram stuff. They were pushing the similar narratives, and this just smells of Disney. And sadly, I think Disney are now the big brother to the BBC, and they've got more weight, and they're saying, look, you might not like it, BBC, but tough. We're putting some money in. I can't prove that. That's my view, but from what I've seen, it just smells like a Disney maneuver.
Yeah. T Dwarf Productions says all praise to the great one. I don't think any of us can argue with that. That's
that's bless him. That's hello, Tom. That's because today marks the 50th anniversary of episode 1 of Planet of the Spiders, which happens to be Tom's favourite story. That's what it's all about.
There you go. It all makes sense.
Makes sense.
It all makes
we might be talking about it in the diary, but we're not actually talking about it in the diary.
We couldn't leave that one hanging. Ncuti said a lot of other things in the last 7 days, and so has Russell too. And we think very carefully about the kind of things that we cover on this show and the things that we pick up and kick around, because we don't want to get repetitive. But sometimes there are bollocks that are dropped that are so big you can't really avoid them. Things have changed.
Sorry, Dan. Did you see the interview on the One Show with Russell?
I did. Russell and Ncuti and Millie have been doing a lot of interviews, but just to move things on a little. Last week that was Monday. They were on the One Show, so last week here in Britain, this is what it's all been about, isn't it? It was red buses. It's the One Show. All of the things that you would expect, and Millie looked stunning, and Ncuti kept his trousers on, certainly for the duration of the interview, which I think we
it's a bonus.
Appreciate. Yeah, it's a bonus. I think we're up. We're absolutely up. But the publicity train has literally hit America now, both in Disneyland in Florida and in New York City. Would you believe, where promo has started to turn up. So Ncuti Gatwa has again been joined by Millie Gibson on this next round of premieres and promo spots and all that kind of thing. So they've been on Good Morning America and other TV shows. And the TARDIS has turned up here in Disneyland there. Your cosmic joyride awaits. And punters at Disneyland have been having their photograph taken with the TARDIS and plastered all over social media, which is something that I never thought I'd see. And everybody's smiling and acting along with the prop. That's been going on in Britain since the days of the Longleat exhibition, Simon, and then the Blackpool exhibition. We've been able to do that, but now Americans are able to do it too, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool, and of course Americans are going to do it. The thing is, what we've got to remember here is that Doctor Who is an iconic show. The TARDIS, the police box, is iconic. You stick it on any street corner pretty much in the world, and people will want to have their photo taken by it just because it's A, unusual, and B, as I say, it is iconic. You walk past the one on Earl's Court, outside the Earl's Court station, and every single time you walk past it, there's somebody having their photo taken by it. The one on Scarborough Seafront, those in Glasgow. The police box just is iconic, and people will want their photo taken outside it. Even if they don't quite understand what it is, you kind of know it's pretty unusual, it's weird, what's it doing there? And so you're going to want your photo taken outside it. But it's good that Americans do. It's good that anybody does. It keeps the brand alive. That we've talked about this before. The police box is just so iconic. It's a design classic. No two ways about it. It will live forever.
It's but nice to see this stuff out in the wild.
They got the Millennium Falcon there, haven't they? In Disney World, and yet that's it. That whole thing is failing
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, Star Wars Land is not working for them.
It doesn't mean anything, really.
We've got these posters as well. I mean, these haven't even turned up in Britain. I haven't seen a single poster like this in the street in Britain or over a bus. And here they are on the streets
the
of America.
Americans have got Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The Americans have got Doctor Who. That's why. They've got it. They own it. What can I say?
But it is weird to see, because I genuinely don't think there are going to be many Americans who are excited by that poster. They will be excited about seeing a police box in Disney World. Anybody would be. A poster in a bus shelter in Texas. I don't know. I don't think it's going to wash.
Still, when they do that in Britain, I still like that. I still think it's kind of cool.
We do, of course we do, Dan.
I tell you what must excite anybody, Americans watching on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, or X, let us know. I would find this pretty exciting. I'm not even a trains guy, but I think this is really cool. Your cosmic joyride awaits here. This is on the New York subway, an entire carriage here, train, with a Doctor Who wrap, completely.
They're going for broke, aren't they? They really are.
Completely wrapped in Doctor Who graphics. You can't say, I don't think any of us can claim that Doctor Who isn't now being given a bloody good push in America. I think this looks spectacular.
At least. Oh, it is. It's absolutely superb.
Yeah, but how come we're not getting that here? Sorry.
Because the Americans own it.
Yeah.
Well, they don't. They don't.
You know what I mean.
Let's be fair. They don't own it.
No, you know what I mean.
They own a chunk of it.
Yeah,
the money talks.
I don't mean it that way.
It's clear that success in America is their prime concern.
Yes, that's what I mean when I say that.
Well, that's because Disney. That's because Disney have got presumably such a large financial stake in it. They need it to succeed. It is as simple as that.
It's not. It's not that large. It's not anywhere as large as Sony's is. They've got a far bigger stake. But obviously, it's an important one because Disney have got the method of delivery that Sony hasn't. They're the ones with the streaming platform. Sony haven't got one.
What is Sony actually getting out of it? I keep forgetting Sony have even got their fingers in the pie.
Money.
Everybody does, but they pretty much own Bad Wolf.
Okay.
So yeah, if it makes money, they'll get money. I think that's.
Yeah.
But
so they're quite happy to just sit there on the sidelines and let Disney etc. do all the publicity and promote it all because
Sony have far more control, but obviously Disney are the ones with the delivery method. I mean, look at this. This is the sort of the Bridgerton style that we see. This is, I think, it's in the third episode, isn't it? The one that's set in the Regency, and
but like I said, I'm sorry. Even if we just had a third of this here, just like I said, a bit of event, a bit of Doctor Who's coming back, Doctor Who, a new production. No, it's not a new production team, but basically the production team that killed it is gone. We've got a new face. Even if, because the general public won't understand all the ins and outs. We've said this. They just need to know that Doctor Who with a different lead actor, with different companion, different look is coming back. And that's all it needs. And even if you just had one type of promotion like this, whether that was buses, trains, something, it would do a lot over here because we've said the love and the sort of the attachment to Doctor Who more than America. So you probably don't have
our public transport system, Charlotte, which is making millions of people miserable every day.
Yeah, and it's like, so my point is they don't need to even do as much of a push technically compared to America because it's a home brand already here.
Can I say why? Sorry, Charlotte. Oh, sorry, you carry on.
As I said, it's just, for me, it's once again short-sightedness, really short-sightedness, even if you just did half of what you're doing clearly in America, which is very impressive. Like, these graphics are they do the job, they catch the eye, they make you stop, they make you look and go, oh, Doctor Who.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, though, with these images, Dan, Charlotte and Co, I would say, look, if you took the logos off of them, nothing about them, from what I've just seen, speaks to me and says Doctor Who. Normally, you'd think they would put, there's a monster, there's a monster on the wall, or there's some sort of.
That's a good point, actually.
They don't seem to have any villains. Yeah, there's no TARDIS. So you know, one of them was effectively like a 60s backdrop of London that you showed
the Carnaby Street style thing, the Austin Powers look.
So,
I do like that tagline, next stop, who knows? I prefer that to the Cosmic Joyride one.
Yeah. But it's just, there's nothing that speaks to me to say, oh, this is going to be exciting. Kids would like to see this. You know, there's monsters here, there's monsters there. You know, previously you would have had trailers, wouldn't you? And you would have had monsters on the posters to entice you into it, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, the other thing that sort of strikes me with this again is if we were to go back, we've talked before now about sort of, for example, the end of series one, the Chris Eccleston series, where the whole of the UK was buzzing. These kind of wraparounds on these trains are the kind of thing that you would expect if the brand was already secure and was already sold and everybody already loved it. And that's what I find strange about this. Americans don't know the brand anywhere near as well as we do. They don't love it in the same way that Brits do. And so it seems odd in that.
Do you know why it is though, Simon?
Go on.
It's because although I've no doubt that they will run this second series and they will continue to invest, how much they invest could alter. This show kind of has one chance, and this is it.
And so they're packing everything into it. Yeah. I think you're probably right. All I'm saying is it almost seems desperate. Isn't a fair word, because you could accuse any promotion of being desperate. So I don't mean it from that point of view. But you know what I mean? It seems odd that it looks kind of confident promotion, this does, as though the brand is already huge and everybody already loves this show, and you won't believe how excited you are that it's coming back, whereas nobody does know this brand to speak of, and so it just seems odd. It's almost like putting the cart before the horse.
Do you think they've been misinformed? For instance, right, do you think that they still think Doctor Who is big in the States, you know, when...
No, I can't imagine that they... Surely not, Ian.
No,
then
be aware.
Then the question is...
of its potential.
All right, then the question is, why go, you know, like this? Why advertise so much? Then?
Desperation in that respect. Maybe it is desperation.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, did, you know, the MCU at the height of its powers come sort of Infinity War and Endgame? They were still advertising on this sort of scale, and they weren't desperate. I think this comes with the territory. To be visible is what people expect.
Yeah,
I was going to
say, I think it's to basically make a mark. Whether that's not a desperation thing, it's just... Or
maybe they had this in mind, you know, before all this crap started happening, with Chewie opening his mouth.
And another thing I think we've got to remember...
Of course it was.
Yeah.
I think another thing we've got to remember, on Disney Plus... It's now landing on a streaming service which has plenty of other shows that somebody can watch on the same service. If they log in and they don't like Doctor Who, there's plenty of other, whether that's because it's not just the Disney stuff on there now. You've got other brands which are incorporated into Disney Plus, which are not Disney. My point is, even if you don't like to watch Disney, I know people who have Disney Plus but watch National Geographic, or do you know other programs which have nothing to do with Disney, but they carry them because of how much Disney owns basically now. So I think on that service, it has to basically be a bit in your face to get eyes on it purely. Whereas it doesn't have to do that on the BBC as much, because there's nothing like it on the BBC. There's nothing like it with the legacy on the BBC. So it doesn't have to stand out technically, but on an American streaming thing like Disney, it has to be loud and a bit obnoxious, I would argue, just to get eyes on it.
If I saw a bus or a train wrapped in Doctor Who graphics like that, it would stop and get my attention. It's just not something we get generally in Britain. Maybe it's quite commonplace in the States and Japan and countries like that. I don't know. Gary Akers asked, "Where's Jinx Monsoon on the subway art?" I don't know. It all revolves around the Doctor and Ruby, which in my view is absolutely the way to go, because they are obviously the two anchors. The idea is, it's not rocket science, we know how it works. You relate to the companion, you're captivated by the Doctor, and it's that dynamic between the two of them as they move backwards and forwards through time and space. That's what keeps us watching. So I'm fine. I'm totally fine with that. Doctor Who is dead in America. We know Matthew Burrows, Kyle from Type 40 has been saying that for a couple of years. He agrees with our friend Gary at Nerdrotic there. You're absolutely right. But Matthew Pounder says he'd rather go on a ghost train. But yeah, it's all about Ncuti and Millie there. And I've seen some of the promo. I've seen the Good Morning America interview, and they've done another one with ABC. And Ncuti is not saying anything stupid. He's actually being very charming. He's talking the show up. He's saying pleasant things. He's been very inviting, and he seems to have been wearing trousers for the most part. Those look like the trousers that Rolf Harris used to wear when he did the old Jake the Peg. Yeah. So, not the best example, but there they are there. I mean, they look, I mean, Millie always looks stunning anyway. And,
maybe he painted the train and we don't know it. Maybe Ncuti did it.
Did Ncuti Gatwa, was he up all night doing that himself there? Is that a skill that we don't know, that we didn't know that our new Doctor has? Has he wrapped this all on his Todd there, and maybe he's been putting up all these posters that we've seen springing up through social media across America. It's a lovely thing. I just wish there was a few more here. I wish we had some more of that here, because in Britain at the moment there's just none of this. Maybe it's about time America got Doctor Who full in the face, and maybe this is what it needs to be doing as a brand. Let us know what you think in the comments section, and keep the comments coming in the live chat too. Wherever you are in the world, we want to know what it's like for you when Doctor Who hits wherever you are, because it's got to hit in absolutely every sense, otherwise this isn't going to work.
I need a big dance number. That's what I'm going to put into the universe. I need the Doctor to have a big, fierce dance routine that, like, destroys a monster with twerking. Or maybe some death drops, and that's what will drop the monster.
Yeah, you say it like
he does
that.
Raise it a level, though, didn't
he? Talking about raising it a bit, we are heading towards British summertime, gradually out in the beer garden, touching some of that grass. Maybe Ian in between sinking a pint there with Jenna in the beer garden at the Lamb and Flag. Maybe. I think that could probably be quite a nice afternoon. I wouldn't have
the TARDIS is a bit screwed up, isn't it?
No complaints from me. As long as she doesn't invite her mate. Not so keen on this.
Oh, God, no.
There we are. You can't get much more British than that. And if you'd like more of this and that, you can find it over at our home feed at type40.podbean.com. We've been counting our way down to season 1 of All New Doctor Who over the last few months, speaking to people from throughout the fandom and reviewing classic stories as well. There's our chat with Will Hadcroft there about his fabulous audiobook from BBC Books, The Resurrection Plant. There was our talk with Tony Jordan too from Dwas. We had Ian Levine on, of course, the icon, the fan icon, Ian Levine, doing amazing things with reconstructions. So he's been on the last 2 shows with us. First of all, he did a deep dive on the reconstructions, and then he was game enough to come along for our big review show for season 1. And there'll be reviews of all the episodes, all 8 of them, everybody, yes. Coming to Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast at our home feed, type40.podbean.com, or across all major podcatchers too. Wherever you get the podcasts, you'll find us. Type 40 Live is our weekly live stream Doctor Who magazine show. This is where we do the news, the views, the banter, and the nostalgia. There's more of that coming up in a couple of minutes. In fact, first of all, I think we should blast our way back through the time continuum ourselves. And if all this talk of blasting, if it's a little too much for you and your bladder, well, this is an ideal junction for you to go and have your own golden moment whilst these golden faces and golden voices take you back through TV past in the Doctor Who Type 40 Live ad break. We'll see you back again in a couple of minutes.
Relive Relive the Doctor's adventures in time and space with the ultimate action figure and MP3 CD collection. Collect and build your own Pandorica CD cube case. Each 5-inch action figure includes an audio CD and a piece of the Pandorica, with 3 classic Doctor Who stories to hear. The Doctor Who Pandorica collection.
From character. Have you got a little...
Hello, love. See, you and Dave got married then? Got just what you need for supper. Tender beef simmered in its own gravy with a tasty pie crust.
Oh, but I've never made a pie.
No, and you never have to. Fray Bentos steak and kidney pie, just like his mother's. She buys them here, too.
A word of advice. Plan for the future, and you'll be ready for anything. Of course, I hear you say. It's easy for him. He's a Time Lord. He's been there often enough. Well, let me tell you something. You don't need a Gallifreyan time capsule or even a sonic screwdriver to shape the future. The answer the whole universe has been seeking for centuries is at the end of a telephone line. New Zealand Superannuation Services. Yes, I knew you'd be surprised. Oh, they're arriving. Oh, yes.
Yes, this is Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show tracking the entire Whoniverse, both on and off screen, throwing down some beats so you can bust some moves, or is it vice versa? Here with the boss and with the panel. I'm Dan Hadley, and you are watching us live across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and on X too. I've got everybody. Are we back? Sort of. Are we back thereabouts? I've got Charlotte Shields here. We've got
Hello.
John Yulden. We've got Ian David Diaz and Simon Horton here, back to talk all things Doctor Who from throughout its 61-year history. Let us know what you think of it all, as always, there in the live chat across the platforms. We'll be coming back to you in a moment, or in the comments section too, if you're watching at a later or earlier space and time. So, yes, the adverts there, some absolute belters. I love that Tom Baker one for the New Zealand. What's it called again, John? What was it? It sounded like double Dutch to me. I don't do numbers and figures.
I had no idea what it was. I remember it. I don't know what it was.
Superannuation, they said. I don't even know what that means.
No, it's too big for me. Too highbrow.
Just distracted by a certain actor's voice. I think we all were.
Yeah.
Always hanging on his every word. This is the Doctor, says Gary Akers, the retro doc. Was Doctor Who big in New Zealand, asks Fly Highland. I've always wondered about those adverts. Of course it was. Of course it was. Still is, as I understand it, Simon. It's big all over the Commonwealth, is it not?
Apparently so.
So is Tom Baker as big as ever?
Tom Baker's huge all over the whole universe, quite rightly so.
Good stuff. Those New Zealand ads are more like Doctor Who than Russell T Davies could ever make. There's Richard. Oh, I get it. And Harry Palmer's popped in to say hello. Did I miss your Capital report? Yes, Simon and I were at the Capital Dwas event a few days ago, and we've got something cooking for that, Harry. A little bit too much to get into on this edition of the show. There might be something dedicated to the Capital coming up, so stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get the notifications about that, Simon. I think we're still recovering, aren't we?
We are. I mean, we won't go into detail here, but we did have an absolutely fantastic day on Saturday. Hello to everybody at Dwas. Hello, particularly to everybody that made us so welcome. It was fantastic. Thank you, Tony, for hosting us so brilliantly. What a fantastic day we did, and we met some people that maybe we might be getting on the show at some point in the future.
We did. Yeah,
we couldn't possibly give you any spoilers at this stage.
It was quite exciting,
Stay tuned,
wasn't it?
folks. I think that's what.
Definitely stay tuned, as J&T would say.
It's funny who you get talking to, isn't it? Yeah. Funny. Doctor Who cornerstones and mainstays like the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. That's changing, of course. That's evolving. We spoke to Tony about that. It's all very, very exciting. But another mainstay that's never stopped evolving, well, not of late anyway, is this. This is the Doctor's gizmo, gadget of choice, in his pocket since 1967. Did we first see the sonic screwdriver, Simon?
Indeed, 67. Yes, it was 67. Fury from the Deep. Indeed, it was episode 1, and it didn't look a thing like that at all. It was just very plain, almost like a pen, Schaefer pen.
Yeah.
That's like.
So it's the one. That's the one that looks like a biro on the left, isn't it?
It's like a Schaefer pen. That's what I said.
Oh, look at that design classic, gently reinvented over the decades. Ian.
Fantastic. I've got most of them.
Yeah, you have, haven't you? You've got a brilliant gift set, haven't you?
Oh, I forgot you got that, and you've got a custom made one as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I have indeed. I do like the pen one though. That was Patrick Troughton, wasn't it?
Yeah, Patrick Troughton. That's right. That's the Fury from the Deep one. I'm desperate. I'm absolutely desperate for a Tom Baker one or a Peter Davison one. I really am. That sort of classic one that's in sort of number 3 and 4 there, 2, 3, 4. I just love that one. I'm desperate for one of those. I just don't know where to get one from. A good one.
A nice one. A proper one. Yeah. So the sonic screwdriver. It hasn't always been part of Doctor Who, has it? JNT put it to death, didn't he? John, do you remember? It's burst into flames in a Peter Davison story, but for the most part, it's been there in the Doctor's pocket, hasn't it? Through most of the show.
Yeah, it has, and it was brought back in 96 movie, wouldn't it? They brought it back.
Yeah.
Didn't use it though, did he?
Still favourite of ours.
That's my favourite as well.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think in recent years we may have joked a little, Charlotte, that sometimes it's a little bit like the Doctor's got a magic wand at times, particularly during the Moffat era, where the Moffat era was a little more fantasy based anyway, wasn't it? A little more magical. And sometimes it would seem that with a wave of the sonic, something kind of Harry Potter-esque would magically happen.
Well, it's sort of, you'd look at the episode and you go, oh, it's 10 minutes to go and he hasn't saved the day. I wonder how he's going to do it. Sonic Screw all the time. It was like you could literally, based on the pacing, knew when
it's
the
gone
Sonic
a lot stronger, isn't it? They're like in the last one with the David Tennant one, he made force fields out of his
force fields.
Yeah. It's a bit.
It is a magic wand. Really in many ways, it is a magic wand.
I loved that, what they did with it in the Star Beast in particular. I thought that worked absolutely brilliantly. But you could mistake the sonic screwdriver for a pen, just as you did, Simon, or even a magic wand. But I've never ever mistaken it. I don't know about you, but I've never mistaken it for a gun.
Oh, I've always thought it looked just like a gun. To be honest, it scares me, Dan. It really does. I've always looked at it. I've got really, really nervous about the sonic screwdriver. It terrified me as a child because I thought it was a gun. Oh, no, actually, I didn't. I never thought that. Sorry.
He's been saying that.
Could this be problems that people are farting into thin air? So yeah, this is an article that was in Rolling Stone magazine also this week that has mesmerised the fandom. We don't know what on earth Russell T Davies is talking about. This isn't an actual quote from Russell. This is part of the editorial content of Rolling Stone, of this big feature. But they make the claim that Russell decided that the Doctor's trusty sonic screwdriver has this time been redesigned for the 15th Doctor's era to resemble a remote control or flip phone, very purposefully, because Russell T Davies was worried that the old sonic screwdrivers looked too much like guns, potentially encouraging kids to pretend to shoot one another. Oh, sure, just imagine if kids pretended to play Cowboys and Indians or Star Trek or something like that. Whatever next? Thank heaven for Russell T Davies.
Once again, Russell, why are you imagining issues which never existed?
Well, we're back to Davros again, aren't we? We're back to Davros. Exactly the same.
But it's like, I can't help but think one of Moffat's most known quotes is what he said he loved about the Doctor, that he had 2 hearts and he didn't carry a gun. That's a really well-known Moffat quote, for God's sake.
Can I just make a very important point as well? He says this, right? But then in the giggle, he's got an entire unit squad firing weapons at the toy maker. so
well, that's clearly not going to encourage any children to be firing. Clearly. So, John, stop it. You're being silly. I mean, can somebody please tell me, since when does a gun look like something like a pen that you hold up like this? How many guns do you know that look like that?
I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure gun needs a trigger for it to work.
You dial it death ray. You dial it death ray. Look.
You do kind of think he would have learned his lesson after the Davros incident. You kind of think he would have learned, but clearly not. Russell is clearly far cleverer than any of us. Thank goodness for Russell T Davies for saving the world every day. Oh, Russell, thank you for saving me from myself.
Everything about this Doctor Who is wrong.
So this is how they've reworked the sonic screwdriver. They can't call it a screwdriver now. It looks nothing like a screwdriver. Into this sort of, like you said, a flip phone or like something you could work a game console with. It just looks like a trinket from every sort of trash level mid-budget sci-fi show you would find on the Sci-Fi Channel or on cable TV 10 or 15 years ago. It is it's just so nothing. And the fact that we've already seen this on screen in the Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road,
really?
And we've never even talked about it before.
I didn't even notice it.
No, you wouldn't. It's because it's now just a piece of sci-fi's hat that goes beep.
Where is it in the Christmas episode? I don't remember that at all.
He just whizzes it around.
I was going to say, I can literally remember one scene when he uses it to open a door.
Okay.
That's about it.
Nope, it's gone. Nope, missed it.
He talks to the police officer, doesn't he, with the clever talk with the, as he's going in the TARDIS, doesn't he?
Okay.
You're going to get married or something like that, he says.
Oh, is it that? Is that it there?
Yeah. Oh, right.
But I think this talks to another issue, which we've all sort of all talked around a bit to do with other things with this era. Nothing can settle. Nothing can be kept in one sort of space for long enough for you to sort of recognise it as being part of this era. Ncuti has a revolving wardrobe. We've got a new companion after one series. Like even the Sonic is now been redesigned. It looks nothing like what's gone before. And it's like, as fans, we were talking about the TARDIS. Simon talked about how iconic that TARDIS has become now because it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It's kept the same thing, and it's what we get attached to as fans. And like, even if you go back to that picture of the Sonic, yes, they're all different designs, but they're identifiably a Sonic to look at it. And that's what this show has always done so well, had these things, whether that's said TARDIS, Sonic, other bits of the Doctors, icons of this show. And it's like and like it can also talk a lot to things. I remember in Matt's 11th Hour how you had that scene when he was trying to get the Atraxes' attention on Prisoner, so he used the Sonic. It was still Tennant's Sonic because he hadn't changed it yet, and he he made it blow up. And you could see him get upset because the Sonic was dead. And it was a lovely little moment because you could see the Doctor like saying, oh, it's gone. But then it was a other thing of the fans almost saying, yeah, look, that was one of the last bits of the 10th Doctor. And now it's gone and we've got Matt and he's new and we have to see what this new Doctor has. So it's that idea of, like I said, things being able to breathe and stay and get any sort of attachment. And this team seemed to be against that, which I don't understand.
It looks to me like a vanity mirror. That's what it looks like, which wouldn't surprise me in the slightest that Ncuti would be carrying a vanity mirror around with him.
It's not been that long, Simon, since we were kind of rejoicing when we saw David Tennant as the 14th Doctor brandishing this mixture of everything that was so successful about the sonic screwdrivers from 2005 right the way up to the Capaldi era. This is a kind of a hybrid of different elements from those designs, and on screen it looked fantastic. If you remember, this was put out by Character Options as a toy too, and it sold out in about 2 hours, something like that. That was less than a year ago that this thing had a rapturous response. And then you see the next Doctor waving around whatever that is.
Well, a vanity mirror.
I mean, and it's one thing to conceive of that through a design process, but the reasoning behind it is just absolutely wild.
Well, presumably Russell has seen the light, hasn't he? He obviously got it wrong when he allowed David Tennant to wave around that particular Sonic, which clearly looks very much like a machine gun, which could hurt anybody. So he's, God bless him, Russell. You saw the light and you saved us all from ourselves again. So
thank heaven for Russell T Davies. This is exactly the kind of thing, isn't it? Looking for problems that aren't there. Just like his thing about Davros can't be in a wheelchair anymore for that god awful Children in Need special last year, Destination Scara, which the show, this entire production, still hasn't come out from under the shadow of that. It's certainly marred the 60th anniversary. And here he is again, making more silly decisions that simply don't need to be made. Ian,
I've got nothing to say on this point.
Is it just that I'm coming to the conclusion that Russell just has to open his mouth and rubbish has to come out of it? I am coming to that. He's like a Golga Frinchen from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they just have to keep talking rubbish endlessly. Is that what Russell is now? I don't know. It's difficult to tell.
I have no idea what he's thinking with this.
Well, he did say in the interview, he said that he wanted to be more fantasy. This Doctor to be more fantasy than sci-fi. He said it in the one show interview, which means which means that you guys are going to get a hell of a lot of bollocks coming your way. So good luck with that.
What about that design says fantasy? Like for me,
I don't see this as Doctor Who. Sorry,
but even if you go fantasy, if you look at Harry Potter carries a wand.
And you know it's a wand when you look at it. Yeah.
They don't talk to you about, oh, by the way, this might look a bit like a weapon, even though it doesn't. They treat people with common sense. We're 2 steps away from them putting an advert out before the show telling everyone to have safety cushions and barriers on just in case they fall over during the show.
It's too scary in case,
Well, you wonder how much longer the TARDIS will last. There's going to be something wrong with the TARDIS. How long is it going to be before Russell finds something offensive with the colour blue?
Blue, yeah.
That's
blue. Pink. Yeah. I don't know.
Blue is offensive to some people, and so we're going to need to be saved from ourselves on that one, aren't we? And of course, you might trip up over as you go across the doorway, across the threshold. You might trip up on that little step. There's going to have to come with a safety warning there. We're going to have to get rid of that.
Well, you're right. The episodes are going to have to be 15 minutes longer because the start of the episode is going to be the risk assessment.
Yeah,
and they go into the story.
Obviously, the Doctor has now and again. See. This is where is it? Let's get it. Let's get this up on screen. Where's it gone? Okay, have I lost it? Yes, the sonic screwdriver. All of them are pretty distinctive. A screwdriver is a screwdriver. I think that where they hit big, where they got it right really was when they brought the show back and had literally a screwdriver inset into the Eccleston and David Tennant handle of the screwdriver. I think that was particularly genius idea. Because kids could look inside their toy and see the twirly bit that they would find in the toolbox in their dad's or mum's shed in the toolbox about the house. I think that's a brilliant idea. But guns look nothing like that. And yeah, you could say some of the Doctors sort of wave them around and point them with intent, but it's very, very different. We've seen the Doctor use guns many times throughout Doctor Who's history. Pretty much all the Doctors have used guns of various sizes for one thing or another when the situation
calls for it,
calls for it, Ian. It's always a dramatic moment. It's never really, apart from with the 8th Doctor there in the TV movie, it's never really played for laughs. So they never, Doctor Who, none of the production teams, Simon, right the way from the 60s with the early sort of the invasion and the war machines, those early involvements of the army, they've never played down lethal weaponry, have they? It's always been responsible.
Well, Doctor Who has never played down death. I mean, truth be told, a lot of people die in Doctor Who. I have a feeling that probably not many people will be dying in the upcoming series of Doctor Who. Maybe they've got rid of that as well. But Doctor Who has always been about death. And Eric Sayward, one of the great script editors for many years on Doctor Who, top right corner there with from Attack of the Cybermen. He famously always said that death and violence needed to be treated very, very seriously in Doctor Who. The consequences of it had to be seen so that people knew that it was bad. Doctor Who is about death. There's not much way of getting around that unless you change, maybe this is why Russell is now steering it in a fantasy direction. Maybe it will, as I say, I do wonder whether it will stop being about death. Because as I say, you do have to face the consequences of it in Doctor Who, but it never bothered me as a kid that people were dying. You as long as you, as I say, as long as Eric said, you understand the consequences of it, that it's a serious thing. It's not to be taken lightheartedly.
Yeah, and I can remember even when I was younger, started watching with Eccleston through the other New Who Doctors. To me, I can remember having that thought and feeling whenever the Doctor was holding a gun, you were like, right, this is now dire straits.
You would
this
gasp,
is now
you'd take a breath.
It's like this is he's tried every other method and they won't work. That's why he's now holding a gun. And it did have that effect of sort of taking your breath. And then, like Simon said, because it talked to this man, this brilliant man who would use intelligence, would try and use peaceful methods, would try and even put himself in danger. He would try everything underneath the book, and violence and guns and weapons would always be at the bottom of his approach list. And so for Russell now to almost say, oh, well, the Sonic was like a gun. It's like, no, the Sonic, that's why I said that Moffat quote, because the Sonic was the ultimate show of how the Doctor was above what a normal human or base level being would do when they had a difficult situation. If you look at human history, that's what we do. We use violence. We resort to easy methods to get what we want. The Sonic and the Doctor was meant to be a symbol of, no, actually, you can use your head. You can use science. You can use sort of peaceful methods. You can use trying to find the one common thing between two warring groups to bring them together. That's what the Doctor represents. And that's what the Sonic represented, because that was what he carried. And it was a non-aggressive item. So to Russell now...
The general principle for the sonic screwdriver, really and truthfully, it's to speed up the drama so the Doctor doesn't get locked in a jail cell for 50% of any given, particularly classic series adventure, isn't it? It's just to make sure that Doctor Who moves that bit quicker than the average adventure show, I suppose, particularly back in the 60s and the 70s. It was just a novelty item, really, which made the show that little less like everything else on TV, I think, Simon. And so to comment it with this, like it's something that needs to be now exercised from the show, that it's become to represent something, I think is incredibly woolly thinking.
I genuinely do. I've said this before. I said it right back at the beginning that I wondered whether Russell coming back, the power would go to his head. And I do worry that that's exactly what we're seeing with all of this, with Davros, with the sonic screwdriver, with just about everything that Russell now talks about. It is like power has gone to his head, and he believes his own hype. He believes the hype that has been heaped on him over the years as the greatest writer, TM, and I genuinely think I worry that he's gone power mad. I really do. He thinks he can do anything and get it through with Doctor Who. He is living out his own little fantasy, his own little power fantasy, or that's at least how it appears at the moment. He's living out a power fantasy where he can do no wrong, and it's his playground, and he can do exactly what he wants to do. And if you don't like it, you can literally go and touch grass. That's the kind of impression that we're getting, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's the impression he's putting across deliberately and blatantly and self-consciously himself.
The only time they've ever put the Doctor doesn't carry a gun, does he? He picks, as you said, Charlotte, he picks up a gun when it's absolutely necessary. And John, I think this is how we know, and this is why the only time we've ever been presented with the idea of someone claiming to be the Doctor who carries a gun, just another reason why none of us bought it for a single frigging moment.
Yeah.
And this person is not and will never be the Doctor, will never feel legitimately like the same character.
No.
Which just proves our point, really. If the Doctor's handling a gun, they certainly don't carry one everywhere they go, and they certainly don't look at ease with one in that way.
No, exactly. And if you want to even just cut it down to New Who, Russell's art writing at the end of season 4, Davros calls him and basically says, you use these humans as your weapons, as your tools. So he won't pull the trigger, but he would get someone else to pull the trigger. That's essentially part of his writing from season 4. So he's kind of just going back on what he's written previously as well. And I would also say it wasn't until New Who that you had the Doctor shooting the sonic screwdriver like it was a weapon. So, I think obviously the 9th Doctor did it with Jack, but he made a joke of it about putting shelves up. But then as it went on, I think it might have been Matt Smith more when with the
Matt Smith used to look at it. He used to look at it held up vertically, didn't he, to check the reading? So he'd hold it vertically like that. Whereas the model before, it was always horizontally. They would kind of point it, but sort of pointed sort of up like that or down. It still felt like they were using an instrument rather than pointing a weapon. And with the Matt Smith one, you felt like he was reading with it as he either had it completely vertical or to side. And obviously there were working parts to it then that would open and close that were much bigger, and you'd hear the clunk of the metal. So it made you feel like he was using a proper scientific implement.
Right. And I think the only bit I remember from Matt Smith, I think it was The Impossible Astronaut, where they're there and they're surrounded, him and River's shooting off, but then Matt uses it as a sonic screwdriver, sort of shooting a weapon, where the I forget the name of them now,
I think it was when they were up against the Silence. I think he was doing it to. I don't know if they had guns or they had a weapon, and he was using it to basically.
He calls them out, doesn't he? And then they go at him.
Yeah, it was just to basically freeze them.
Am I mistaken? Did Bacaldi use it like a gun in a couple of episodes towards the end of his run when he was fighting the Cybermen at the ending?
In the Doctor Falls, I can't remember.
I think he was setting off explosives with it.
I was going to say
memory.
Right.
Setting off mines that he'd planted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so you did see flames and stuff by the Cybermen when he pointed. But like we said, even that act, once again, he's using technology that's not a gun. He's using a mine. He's the Doctor. If you ever look at these scenes where you try and say, well, he's pointing it, it's because he's doing it for something else to happen in reaction.
I think some of the blame.
He's a scientist. I think that's also what's forgotten in here.
Yeah.
The Doctor's a scientist.
I think some of the blame should be put on Moffat and RT actually, because they did change a lot of stuff in New Who, and some of it's lead up to this point, isn't it? Really, let's face it, because even in the movie, the Doctor was a very gentle person, but very intelligent person, wasn't he? I mean. Yeah. He wasn't violent. He didn't punch anyone or anything like that. But Moffat had Peter Bacaldi punched someone, didn't he, at one point? And I don't believe
he had
Tom
him
Baker.
shoot a Time Lord as well.
Yeah, Tom Baker never punched anyone, did he?
He did. He punched.
Scorby.
Didn't he?
For an uncle.
Yeah.
And did he punch Dougal in City of Death?
I don't know.
I think he punched a few people.
The thing is, though, the Doctor only resorts to violence when it is the last option.
Yeah,
in my opinion. So
this was why it was so drastic when the Master was seen to be carrying a laser screwdriver and very much using it like a weapon of lethal force. It wasn't. It was, for all intents and purposes, that was a gun, wasn't it? It would kill Captain Jack over and over again. Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's that contrast. We could see the Doctor's wasn't that, and so therefore it never enters our mind.
Well, he did more than that. He literally tortured the Doctor when he aged him. And he pointed, and then from a memory, he did that with this laser, with the sonic he had, and that was very clear what was happening.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, one of the images that I think, and I know what you mean, Ian, New Who has played with the Sonic. They've done more with the Sonic than Classic. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
But also New Who, for me, has gone out of its way to say the Doctor has a real issue with being compared to a soldier. Like whenever companions or characters who are like secondary characters even try and compare him, you can see he's absolutely furious. He hates that comparison.
Did you just...
So by saying that, Russell is saying the Doctor was like a soldier, which goes against what New Who especially had. Classic, it could be there more, but I just know from New Who more, that was more of a in-your-face comparison, and the Doctor would always fight it.
Well, you're
saying,
right.
Don't you dare say I'm a soldier, sort of attitude.
Capaldi into the Dalek at the end, he says to her, doesn't he? He says, "You're probably a nice person. It's just a shame that you're a soldier." And he leaves her behind because she wants to go with him.
Simon is right about death and consequences, says Nathan Huggins. I completely agree. People, it's a strange thing on some social media platforms. Russell comes out with these things. I mean, we haven't actually got a quote from Russell there. That's been put in by Rolling Stone. They claim that that's what Russell's told them, so you've got to take it at face value, haven't you? It certainly sounds like him based on the Davros thing. And some people will run defence for Russell on any stupidity that he comes out with. You know, I've had certain people I've read saying, well, he's not wrong because, you know, Patrick Troughton, he held his Sonic like a gun once in the Dominators. It's nearly 60 years ago. It's pretty thin justification.
I mean, the thing is, it's all in the writing now, isn't it? People. Yes. All we need to worry about is what is in the writing now in the upcoming series, and so that's up to Davies. He needs to write it in such a way that it's very clear that the Sonic, whatever it looks like, is not a weapon. So if it needs to be changed into something that doesn't look like a weapon, that's an inadequacy in the writing, I would say, rather than anything to do with the design. Yeah. It's how it's used. It's not what it looks like.
Also, I always thought the sonic screwdriver was linked with the Doctor, you know, some kind of connection between him. And then when he started giving it to Clara and Clara started using it, I was thinking, yeah, well, what's going on there?
That's,
do you know
when
what I
it was
mean?
getting tired.
Yeah.
I think it's become that way, hasn't it? Because the Sonic is now seen as part. It is of the TARDIS, and the TARDIS has this connection to the Doctor, and therefore, by extension, the Sonic is also connected to the Doctor. Yeah, I'd say that's provably true. You could wonder where this is all going, and I think Heretic mentions this in the live chat here. Where next? Could they decide that blue, being a gendered colour, and also the colour of the TARDIS of the police box, could that become a problem? And it might be, so as to not cause offence using a gendered colour, perhaps they would want to make it grey in future.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying.
I would have scoffed about this probably 6 months ago. Now, I think that it's possible. I think anything's possible.
And why do the lights change inside the TARDIS interior? Because they can do that whenever they want.
Yeah. You do begin to wonder. You know, I said that I was joking but I was only half joking when I said there will be a problem with the TARDIS at some point. Somebody else pointed out in the chat that, of course, blue is a conservative colour, and so Russell is famously far from conservative with a capital C. And so, honestly, anybody could find any offence in anything these days, and so I fear that we might see the TARDIS change colour. I'm not kidding. I think we might.
And like we're saying, the problem is when you're looking for offence, you would naturally I'm thinking about writing now. When you have got that in your mindset, which is clearly Russell has got now, even if he's not realising it while he's writing, he will be cutting off so many writing opportunities because he will be, I can't do that, or he'll just not even think about it because he's conditioned his mind to think, offensive.
So, question for you: do you think we're actually going to go through an entire series where there is no death?
I wonder. Did anybody die in the Tennant episodes and the Christmas episode? Did anybody die in those?
Lots of people died in the giggle, didn't they?
Did they?
Unit operatives we didn't see on screen.
Yeah.
The guy
Got
in the
turned into
toy
balls,
shop,
didn't they?
he was still alive by the end of it.
But having said all that, we know that at that point Russell hadn't seen the light because David Tennant still had that terrible weapon-like Sonic.
Yeah.
So now Russell's seen the light. So in the new series, hopefully nobody will die.
And also, Unit had fired more bullets out of machine guns than Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. So
But then all those goblins died in the Christmas special as well because they all got blown.
They were goblins, so he didn't answer.
They didn't count.
Yeah, Goblin Lives Matter. Hashtag Goblin Lives Matter. The third Doctor Friday, few ogrons, but it was cool, says on comics. Was that
Right.
okay? Is that all right? Yeah, do we have to
Yeah.
fall over?
Yeah, I think that's all right.
Yeah. Could be. Ramona had a dingy one, says Peter Harrington. Are we still talking about Sonics?
Yeah, Sonic. I think maybe it means dinky. I don't know.
I
think dinky.
Yes.
Either way, it just sounds wrong. I think we know. I think you know where you're going. To be fair, presumably the Sonic works by creating vibrations in the air, which could be used in a weapon-like way. Speculates Colin Archer there on YouTube. Thanks for that, Colin. That sounds like real science there, mate. Don't come here with.
I always thought he had a psychic connection with the Sonic.
I don't think so. You're thinking of the TARDIS. He has a psychic connection with the TARDIS.
Right. Okay.
Maybe they'll just bring the Sonic glasses back again.
That's not offensive. No, but those are about people who wear glasses. I'm offended, John, because I wear glasses.
Oh dear, it's a good job we can laugh about it, isn't it? Hey, you got this little trinket. So this is the Sonic screwdriver. It's Sonic as it looks now. This is the one from the season we're about to get.
It's like a mouse, isn't it? It's like a computer mouse, like a funky ergonomically designed computer mouse.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It looks like, remember the film The Mummy from '99, the little scarab things? It looks like those in the Egyptian tomb.
Yes, of course.
It looks like that.
Do you know?
Well, it doesn't look like a Sonic, that's for sure.
No, and the design has already been revised for season 2.
Oh, okay.
They've already changed. It's the same basic shape and design, but they've dropped the blue. I believe it's all, and I don't think the gold is quite so pronounced. It's kind of somewhere between the two. It's more like brassy.
It's really nice design, to be honest. It's just not a Sonic screwdriver. It's a really nice design.
At all. Well, you'll be happy to learn, Simon, that it's on its way. You know, you will be able to order it soon. No date on this yet, but the toy set is coming. So the Doctor Who, the 15th Doctor's electronic Sonic screwdriver. Recommended retail price is $24.99, 20p off. You can get if you pre-order it. Character options there. Now, the proof of the pudding will be in. Will this sell out in the same way that the 14th Doctors did?
Well, they'll tell you it has anyway, Dan. They'll tell you it's sold out.
Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, I don't know.
Unfortunately, you're not going to get a true story.
Are you tempted to add this to the collection, Ian? You know,
no. It's a really ugly thing. It really
I like it. It's a design. I like it. It's just not a Sonic.
I don't like it at all. It looks like a mouse.
It does look like a mouse. I sort of say to be a really cool computer mouse, that would.
Yeah.
Or as has been said a lot in the chat this evening about the tricorder. It does look remarkably like a Star Trek tricorder.
Yeah,
it's one of those early 2000s one for all remote controls.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it looks like.
I guess it looks really ugly in the hand. That's the problem.
Yes, I agree. It does.
Yeah.
Darren Bradley in the live chat there, who says, as a kid, some of the best playtime adventures were playing Cowboys, Cops and Robbers, Starsky and Hutch, Han Solo, all that jazz with pretend blasters, and I agree completely. I don't see any harm in that. We all played those games. Very, 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 very few of us grew up to be homicidal maniacs.
And don't you remember as well? Not being awful here, but the fun part was being killed. That was the fun. Was being shot. Being killed, it was, wasn't it? I'm right, aren't I? Be honest.
For a generation in the playground.
Yeah, but you'd always have, because you'd always have that one kid who would like overdo it. Who's going to be the most Shakespeare-inspired death on stage?
Throw him or herself off a wall and end up in A&E by the time it was time to go home from school. So that apparently is a Sonic. So Russell, if you want, that's the Sonic. This is a gun.
Yes.
Gun. Sonic gun. We're getting the message. It's a big gun there. So he still doesn't mind guns now and again. Sonic gun. So yeah, we're all better people now that we've had the sonic screwdriver completely revolutionised by the good Lord Russell T Davies. Charlotte, will you sleep soundly now, knowing that?
I'll sleep so soundly, knowing that to me, what it looked like when I saw it was, oh, that's nice. The doctor's been to the early learning centre and got a present. And it was just, that was my first reaction.
You're right, it does look early learning centre.
It looks very childish, and that was my first gut when I saw it. I was like, that looks like something that's really for kids. And like the other Sonics, there was a bit of that, I'm not denying that. But this looks really for kids, and that's what I don't like about it.
Are we going to have to call it something different as well? Because Sonic could be offensive to people who have hearing impairments.
It's funny because this team doesn't know what cool is, do they? They really don't. Anything from design of clothes to design of the Sonic, right across the board. They have no clue what something that looks cool looks like. Holding that thing in your hand, it looks ridiculous. How can they not see that?
More to the point, though, Ian, they don't understand children. That's a real concern.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, and what's funny is, Ian, like you said, you can see they're trying so hard to be like cool. Like that's what also like comes off this team.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to have to go, everybody.
Night.
Good night, Charlotte. Thanks again, as always. Good luck. You go and touch some grass at your nearest opportunity, whatever you do.
I'll have lots of fun touching grass. Don't you worry. Night.
Night. Bye. Well, touch some grass, everybody. Touch some grass, because all that talk of guns and death and weapinery and all these contentious subjects. This is a very nice garden, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah,
it's like the garden in Five Doctors that they pick up the first Doctor in the Rose Garden, isn't it?
It's nice.
Every time you show the Sonic Screwdriver, you should say sponsored by Sky.
It does look like a Sky remote.
See, Jamie Knight's comment. This is exactly what I mean. It's like some late night shopping tat from the 90s. It looks like 101 gadgets from every garbage sci-fi TV show ever made. You know, and I like some of those shows, don't get me wrong. I would while away the hours, John, sometimes till 2, 3 in the morning, watching some absolute tat. But it's not Doctor Who. This is special. And these icons that Charlotte was mentioning, this is the language of Doctor Who now.
They're getting rid of all the nice icon stuff. As you guys say, I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the colour of the TARDIS. I mean, they've got rid of the Sonic, the way it's supposed to look. They got rid of the idea of the Doctor wearing a clothes that actually, is linked with his character. They've got rid of the Doctor from Cambridge. They're just getting rid of everything that's Doctor Who, as far as I'm concerned.
How did we get to this point in Doctor Who?
where
we're talking about things and we're going, I hope they don't come out of anything else. What's worse than that?
It is getting that way.
Yeah,
it is getting that way.
Really
let us know what you think, as always, in the comments section. Is this complete lunacy, more absolute abject lunacy from the mind of Russell T Davies? It's hard to imagine that this is the same guy that reinvented the show so successfully and those icons all the way back in 2004, who gave kids a sonic screwdriver that everybody wanted to own. Not just kids either, adults too. I think most homes in Britain had multiple sonic screwdrivers. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating, or perhaps in the pre-ordering. We'll see how they go, whether they sell like hotcakes. I say that's unlikely, but hey, if you've already pre-ordered the new one, maybe I could be wrong. And the rest of us, if we want to calm down, get back to nature. That's it. Go and touch some grass, everybody. And anytime any of this stuff ever gets on top of you and you think they could be robbing Doctor Who of its various icons, Ian, that's what I will do, definitely, every single time. Please let us know in the comments section what you think of all that guff.
This is Philip Roy playing the Doctor. And I'm Mandy Rose, and I play Jenny.
For the Doctor Who fan film, Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, this is the Type 40 podcast.
Yes, so the nice weather may be on the way. Get the lawn mowed so you can touch it at every available opportunity. Ready for Saturday nights, maybe, when you won't be watching the television. It's an ideal spot to put a bit of garden furniture in, and you can top it off with a drop of something a little bit cheeky.
Well, I live in a council flat, so there's no chance of that, mate.
Oh, bless you. I'll send you some grass, mate.
Yes. Get away from Dorset, mate. I'll send it.
Send him some AstroTurf. AstroTurf, Simon. Of course, yeah, but you could. I suppose you could still pretend, couldn't you? So put some AstroTurf down on the balcony and get out some garden furniture and maybe reach for a book. Get a good book on your lap. And the best one is already taken, though, isn't it, Simon? Because you've got it, and it comes in leather. It's called the Doctor Who Diary. It's that time again, everybody. Ooh, cheeky. There we are.
Indeed. Welcome
this time.
Yeah, well, welcome back to the diary, where we spin back through the years, what was happening this week in years gone by, over the past 60 odd years. Now, I'm actually going to start with a challenge to the chat this evening. I'm throwing out a question there, and you've got about 1 minute to answer this question, because rather wonderfully, 5 minutes ago on BBC 4, The History Boys started screening. It's a fantastic film. Anybody that hasn't seen it, don't go and watch it now if you're watching Type 40. But The History Boys has just this minute started screening on BBC 4 because they're having an Alan Bennett night on BBC 4. Sorry for anybody that's outside the UK. We are talking UK here. So, The History Boys, rather brilliantly, as I say, is written by Alan Bennett. If you haven't seen it, it's a treat. Now, there are 5 Doctor Who stars in The History Boys. I'm going to name 4 of them, and I want the chat, the first person in the chat to come up with the 5th person that is missing will win absolutely nothing at all other than our utter admiration. 5 people, as say, from Doctor Who in The History Boys. Russell Tovey, Penelope Wilton, James Corden, Clive Merrison. There's 1 missing. Who is the 5th person missing? Russell Tovey, Penelope Wilton, James Corden, Clive Merrison. We'll be talking about that person in about 1 minute's time. So we want your answers in the chat right now. Don't go and look it up on IMDb. You either know the answer or you don't. And as I say, the first person to get it will win absolutely nothing at all. What we're not talking about this evening, unfortunately, is The Gunfighters episode 1, which the Gunfighters was just starting back in 1966 this week. The Ambassadors of Death was just finishing this week in 1970. Crimple into Balloon, well done. I knew you'd get it right. And Planet of the Spiders, we talked about it earlier on with Tom Alford, who is a massive fan of Planet of the Spiders, one of our long-time viewers, and that was starting exactly 50 years ago. And at some point on the diary, over the next 6 weeks of the run of Planet of the Spiders, I promise we will cover Planet of the Spiders in the diary, because it would be rude not to. But as I say, getting back to our little teaser, quite correct. I'm just having a look through the chat. Yeah, Crimpling to Blue. Oh, Fly Highland. Actually, you were first. Fly Highland was first. Crimpling to Bloom was second. And that's about it. I think everybody else is getting it wrong. We've got lots and lots of guesses. There's only 1 right answer and only 2 right people in the
Richard Brooks says, was it Suze Kempner?
Funnily enough, Richard, it wasn't. We'd love it to be, but it wasn't. Yeah, so Sacha Dhawan, bless him, Sacha Dhawan is 40 years old this week. So we're wishing a very, very happy birthday to Sacha Dhawan. And as I say, if you weren't watching our brilliant Type 40, you would be watching The History Boys, because he's in it playing Akhtar. He also played the same role in several productions of the play all over the world. In fact, the film was from 2006. But yeah, Sacha Dhawan has played Akhtar in many, many productions of History Boys. Because actually he loves Sacha Dhawan loves Alan Bennett, and and Alan Bennett basically was aware that Sacha Dhawan loved his work, and so I think that's one of the reasons why he got cast in. I think he was in the very first production, but I could be wrong on that. Somebody will correct me on that one. Anyway, of course, Sacha Dhawan is better known to us as the Master. What was he? He was the. What was he? Was he the Spy Master originally? Was that the character?
That's right. In some bloody awful episode by Chris Chibnall.
Yeah. But let's not forget, he also played rather brilliantly in An Adventure in Space and Time. He played Warris Hussein, and that was the first time I had seen him.
He would have made a good Doctor, in my opinion.
Yeah, he would actually. He's mercurial. He is mercurial.
People with long memories may you? I think we started the show not long before. No, Jodie Whittaker had already been cast. I tell a lie, but Sacha Dhawan was my pick for Doctor years ago.
Yeah. I remember you saying about this actually, Dan.
Fabulous actor, and I still can't quite believe that he didn't get to play the Doctor properly. He probably never will, but well.
Who knows? Maybe. Who knows? He was originally offered a role in Demons of the Punjab, and he couldn't do that because he was busy. And as a result, he got offered the role of the Master without actually auditioning for the part. He was a little bit of background. He was born in Stockport in 1984. He's a tap dancer. You'll be very pleased to know. Apparently, he's a very, very accomplished tap dancer as well. He's done loads. For somebody who is only 40, he's done an enormous amount of stuff. His IMDb list is quite formidable. He's played in lots of stuff. Line of Duty, Last Tango in Halifax, The Lady in the Van. He's in Being Human. He's in the M. Night Shyamalan film After Earth, which is a very, very good film. Yeah, he is. Cracking film. And of course, he is also in Dracula, the Moffat-Gatiss version of Dracula. He's in that, and he's also in their version of Sherlock. Is that a picture? Is that him from Sherlock on the right-hand side, Dan?
It's like his stomach is exploding. That's what it looks like. Sorry,
I think that's him in. I think that's him in Dracula. Ian.
Is that Dracula? Is that Dracula?
He's dressed for dinner. There and there he is in The Last Train, the ITV sci-fi show from the late 90s on the left.
Oh, well, he's obviously had a good tea. That's what it is.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
What's that one from the left then? Is that Being Human? That's not Being Human. That's Line of Duty.
That's The Last Train. It was a sci-fi show from the late 90s on ITV. A post-apocalyptic kind of survivors kind of show.
Goes in the tunnel, doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. I must be honest. He has done, as I say, a remarkable amount of stuff. And actually, one thing you've got to hand to him is he's a good character actor. We talk about character actors a lot on this show and say they are a dying breed, which I think is true. But he's a good character actor. He's able to transform himself quite very in a very accomplished way.
Very definitely,
The fun facts of the evening from Sacha Dhawan is that you will be excited to know that he was once hospitalized as a teenager after he tried to reenact the lift sequence in Dirty Scenes. You know what I mean? Where Patrick Swayze lifts the dancer up off the floor, and the dancer is horizontal. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Many a night out, Simon. Many a night out. Yeah.
You do it all the time, don't you, John? I know you do. And so poor old Sacha apparently did end up in hospital as a result of trying the lift. There is no report about how his poor dance partner.
I have heard of many people trying that, as you say, John, in pubs or in nightclubs, but never anybody being hospitalised.
Well,
maybe the girl fell on him or something.
Well, who knows? Who can say? Sacha, let us know. Make a comment on the chat, please. Tell us what exactly the injury was. And as I say, how your poor dance partner fared, because there's no mention of that. And I feel sure they probably came off worse than you did, to be honest.
But as I recall in the film, he did it twice, didn't he? He did it one where he was in the water. when he was in the lake.
Can't
And then
remember.
the one at the
Yeah,
end
yeah.
as well. So I wonder if he was in a lake or something. Maybe he almost drowned, or I don't know.
I wasn't.
Who can say? But and so for those that may also remember, he appeared on the season 8 box set, the Blu-ray box set, with his partner Anjali Mahindra, where they talked on the in the behind the sofa section. They were one of the couples.
And don't they
behind
both
the
come across as delightfully normal people as well?
They-
A bit mystified as to why they're there.
Mystified. They're like rabbits caught in headlights in many ways. They're like, what the hell is actually going on? But yes, they come across as a very, very nice couple, a sickeningly nice couple, in all honesty. They seem very happy together, bless them.
See, I
think he
like
would have
him.
been a
and-
good
and-
master.
He was the master.
No, I mean, if they toned him down. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I was going to say, because it just went OTT, didn't it?
I genuinely think he
Oh,
started
what do you
really
mean?
well, John.
Hmm.
And it just went all pantomime. It just went all pantomime. Those first scenes in that first episode that he was in, was it Spyfall? I can't remember. No,
Spyfall, yeah, he was excellent all the way
He
through.
was
that.
excellent.
He really grounded the thing, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, that episode actually held my attention, and it was almost 100% because of him being so watchable and so completely in that part. And I can't really think of a single good reason, really, why they had to flip the character that drastically, not least of all because it was beneath an actor who's able to play on considerably more levels than that, but also it ended up being a version of something that we'd seen before. So I really do think it was a missed opportunity to give this fabulous actor a real spotlight on a show which feels like his natural. It feels like he's always destined to be in it, Simon. I think that's
Blue Planet hits the nail on the head for me here. He was like a cringy Joker. He was ultimately, for me, as I say, that for the first episode, Spyfall, up until the point, the cliffhanger, which is equally brilliant. The way that cliffhanger is handled, I think it's brilliant, and he's excellent right up until that point. And then I think really it's in the next episode after that he just starts to get dialed up to 11. But it was in. Was this episode that we're now looking at? Was that was the Tesla episode, wasn't it? Was it the?
Maybe.
I can't remember now, to be honest. But that episode where he just goes. It was about midway through the season, and by this point, he's just gone completely crackers, and it's too much. It is just too much.
They all of those appearances, in fact, all those particular episodes, kind of just blend into one now.
Yeah, they do. They do.
But he always stood out. He always lifted whatever he was in and whatever stupid stuff, underwritten nonsense Chris Chibnall gave him to say. He was the only one who always rose above the material. Even Bradley Walsh gave up after about 8 episodes.
Yeah, and he always, and certainly Sasha always brings his A game. As I say, for me, it was too much, and certainly by the end of the season, it was way too much. But he was totally committed to it. Boy, was he giving it his all. He couldn't have given it any more, that's for sure. So you salute him for that alone. So happy birthday, as to say, happy 40th birthday to Sacha Dhawan. Now, moving on a little bit sadly, there's a couple of very sad deaths that we're marking in this particular episode. We're not talking about the first one, bless him. John Nathan Turner sadly passed away yesterday, 22 years ago, and I'm only mentioning that because people might think that we're sort of doing him a disservice by not mentioning him this evening. We are mentioning him, but only briefly, because we have talked about him at great length. I think we talked about him in the diary a year or two ago, and we marked. And
we threw him in a 75th birthday party here at Type 40 Live as well.
We certainly did.
A whole 3-hour show celebrating the life and achievements of John Nathan Turner.
Absolutely, and we still salute him wherever he is. Sadly, what we are also marking this week, though, is exactly 20 years, and we're staying with the Master theme here. It's a kind of a Master special this evening, because it's 20 years exactly since we lost Anthony Ainley, the great Anthony Ainley, and I still personally love his Doctor. Of course, nobody was ever going to top Delgado, but for me, Anthony Ainley is a very, very close second. It's a completely different interpretation, and I personally absolutely love it. And as a kid growing up, I just loved Anthony Ainley as the Master. And
You know what, right? As a kid, I didn't realise that the master, he had changed. I always thought it was the same actor.
Well, it was very similar. That's why. And I can still remember the end of The Keeper of Traken when Tremas transforms into the Ainley Master. And as a kid, I genuinely thought, hold on, I thought Roger Delgado was dead, because it did feel like they just literally brought back the same actor that he used to play the Master. It was incredible.
And I loved when he met the third Doctor and the Five Doctors.
Yes.
I really did love that moment.
Yeah.
He is brilliant. Let's face it.
He is brilliant. I think if anything, he's poorly served by some poor material in certain cases. But again, just as Sacha Dhawan, he never did anything other than absolutely bring his A game and give it his absolute all. Again, nobody can accuse Anthony Ainley of not bringing his all to any of the 10 stories that he played in. He was in 10 in total.
But it's funny. It's funny you should say that, because like he was just as good as the original actor that played the Master.
I believe he was. Yeah.
But the script brought a little bit of pantomime towards his Master, though, and I think that's what kind of slightly spoiled it with this Master. But I still think this Master is better than any other Master after him.
I totally agree with you, Ian. Totally. I think. I mean, in many ways, does it matter that it's one of those things where I have to look and think, does it matter that he was a more pantomime-esque?
No, not really.
The original one. It was just a different interpretation, and I enjoy it just as much as Delgado for completely different reasons.
And I think it worked well with the Fifth Doctor in particular. I think
agree.
They just played off each other really well.
Well, and against Tom as well, in Legopolis, I mean, they're just so evenly matched in Legopolis. And as a kid, I just remember being so excited when you knew that the Master was coming back the following week in Legopolis, after having seen the transformation the week before in The Keeper of Traken. He was in, he's got an enormous CV that you wouldn't know some of the stuff because again, he's a great character actor. He did, of course, the Pallisers for the BBC, and that was when John Nathan Turner first encountered Anthony Ainley, and he offered him, remembering him when John was looking to cast the part of the Master again, he offered the part to Anthony without any audition. It was just handed to him outright, because John knew he had his man from working with him on the Pallisers, and it was a good call. One of the things I personally love about the Ainley performances are the pseudonyms in the Radio Times that he went under, those brilliant anagrams that they used to come up with for his name, notably Neil Toynay in Castrovalva, which of course is an anagram of Tony Ainley. The best one, Leon Naitai, which was Time Flight, which was another anagram that they somehow managed to wrangle for Tony Ainley, and then most famously James Stoker, which was an anagram for Master's Joke. Nobody was ever going to get that one, were they? And that was for his role in The King's Demons. Sadly, he only ever recorded one commentary track for the DVDs, and that was on The Keeper of Traken, because he sadly died not long after recording the commentary track for Traken. Other stuff that he's been in, he's uncredited in You Only Live Twice. He plays an uncredited role in You Only Live Twice. I don't know which role it is. I can't even think. I know the Bond films very, very well. Still can't think. If anybody knows
the scene, I think.
Which scene is he in? Come on, Dan.
I think he plays either a waiter or an enemy agent who's disguised as a waiter.
Right, come on, Crimpling Doubloon. You must know this. I believe.
The last time I watched it, I spotted him, and I had to do a kind of rewind and pause to make sure I wasn't imagining things, that it was him, that it was my Master, because I do view Anthony Ainley as my Master, despite some of the material, blah blah blah. The fact is that to me, I'd never seen Roger Delgado. For me, this actor was the Master, and he played him brilliantly, and he was very unpredictable, very maniacal, malevolent, and truly dark. So I was kind of put out when I first moved into Doctor Who fandom and saw him dismissed so cruelly by a lot of people. Because to me, he scared the life out of me.
Did he? You know, he's been with most of them, hasn't he? He was even in is it the oh God, that's gone out of my head now. Sylvester McCoy's episodes, wasn't it?
Survival
as well. Yeah, it was in them as well. I mean, how many doctors did he work with?
Four doctors. Four doctors, which is fantastic, and say 10 stories in total. There he is on the far left-hand side in The Land That Time Forgot. With Doug McClure on the far right.
I remember that film.
I remember that one. And I can still remember seeing that on television not long after he'd first started appearing in Doctor Who. And just as a kid, just being, oh my God, it's the Master. Couldn't quite believe that I was now looking at them. It's that exciting time when you do see Doctor Who stars in other things that you're not expecting to see them in. He was also in Upstairs, Downstairs, The Avengers, Out of the Unknown, various things. One of the most memorable roles, I think, for him is in Blood on Satan's Claw.
He's in that, is he?
He plays the part of the vicar in that, and it's very, very memorable. Blood on Satan's Claw is a quite horrific film. It also stars Wendy Padbury, and for anybody that hasn't seen it, you will never see Wendy Padbury in the same way again. After watching Blood on Satan's Claw. And don't watch it if you are going to be likely to be disturbed. It is a disturbing film, and he is Anthony Ainley is just brilliant in it. But that photo that you've got up there, Dan, isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that just fabulous?
Yeah.
Sadly, Colin's the only one still with us, John.
Yeah, it's such a shame. And I was thinking he would have been so good with Big Finish. You know, he's a few years off of that really, and I think he would have been great if he'd managed to get a chance to do them.
Well, sadly,
to be fair, he did have a chance, didn't he, Simon?
He turned it down. They couldn't reach an agreement. He was offered in the Dust Breeding, I think it was, which would have been the first one, and he was offered the role, and they couldn't reach an agreement, presumably financially or something.
Okay. But he also met the first Doctor as well in the 50th, didn't he? So that's crazy, right?
Doctors, he did.
Because he didn't know who he was, did he?
Yeah.
So
easy as pie.
Yeah.
And Patrick Troughton, I mean, actually think about it. Yeah, he did work with Patrick Troughton, a genuine Doctor. So actually, he worked with five original Doctors.
For me, he's still a bit of a figure that's crowded in Mystery Simon, despite the filmography and despite the fact that I grew up looking at his face. Obviously, it was obscured by a beard that wasn't his, hair that wasn't his. Yeah. So there's so much about his life that I know nothing about. He seemed a very shy man. He liked his cricket. That's all I really know.
He was a massive fan of cricket. He kept himself very much to himself. The people, particularly on the Peter Davison team, Janet Fielding, Sarah Sutton, so on and so forth, have said that he would keep himself very much to himself. It wasn't that he was unfriendly. He would just go and sit on the side and keep himself to himself while they were sort of fooling around, having lunch or whatever it would be. And so he is a bit of a mystery. His birth date is down as the 20th of August 1932, but even that is contentious. Nobody is 100% certain, it seems, exactly when he was born, and so he always has been something of an enigma. The photo that is bottom right there is from Destiny of the Doctors, which was the computer game that came out in the early 2000s, and he's absolutely brilliant in that. He is a joy to behold. I still think it's by far his best performance ever as the Master.
He outcamps Eric Roberts, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
I've still got that. I'm going to put that on at the weekend.
I've still got it as well. And I know that the footage is on, as I recall, the footage is on the Keeper of Traken DVD. It's yet to make it to one of the Blu-rays, the footage. There's about 15 minutes of footage in total. And he is just a joy to watch. It's one of the most entertaining 15 minutes you will ever enjoy. Just a legend.
We've got a comment here from Rob Alexander. I think this is in relation to the Bond movie. You Only Live Twice he was in?
You Only Live Twice.
Yeah, according to Rob Alexander in the live chat on YouTube here, Anthony played A Hong Kong policeman.
Policeman. Okay, could be. I bow to you, Rob. I don't know. If anybody does know, I did notice that somebody was mentioning that Michelle Doutrice is in Blood on Satan's Claw. That is correct. A young Michelle Doutrice, I think it's Some Mothers Do Have Them.
Some Mothers Do Have Them.
Is indeed a very, very disturbing teenager. Seriously, Blood on Satan's Claw is a film. It's a bit like The Wicker Man. Don't watch it if you're easily disturbed. Is all I'll say.
I didn't. I think I had to watch that in 2 sittings. It is very, very disturbing, and it's got that kind of. Just as you say with The Wicker Man, you have no idea who is who and what is what.
It's disturbing. But it's a cracking film, and he plays a great part. But he, as I say, everything he did was fantastic. Just look at him in that photo top left from the Five Dollars. He just is the master there, isn't he?
Costume. Yeah, I love that they put him in that costume and the cape that he had as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it was very theatrical. But
it was camp. It was camp in the way that the Delgado one wasn't camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Matthew Pounder asks, did he once share a flat with Tom Baker? Did he?
Don't know.
Wasn't there a Pertwee connection as well?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look these. If I find out, I'll let you know.
Didn't John Pertwee's father, Roland Pertwee, raise him or sponsor him?
That's it. It was something like that, wasn't
school?
it? Yeah. Yeah, and I'd heard something about Tom Baker as well.
Could be something like that. The one thing I can tell you is he is uncle to a John Ainley, who plays the Cyberman in Attack of the Cybermen. So there's the bizarrest link that you'll ever come up with in the diary, probably. So anyway, as I say, very, very sadly, we are marking and saluting Anthony Ainley on sadly the 20th anniversary of his passing.
What wonderful casting, eh? Wonderful.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really, really sadly missed. I really desperately wish he was still with us. And very, very finally, just quickly, this is a rather bizarre one. This is one thing that nobody will ever guess we were going to talk about in the diary this week, because we go right the way back to 1971. And here we go, and it's The Demons, but The Demons was not being screened in 1971. Today in 1971, get this, they were filming in Aldbourne the infamous scene of Chap with Wings 5 Rounds Rapid. This scene was being filmed exactly 53 years ago in Aldbourne for the Demons. And it's just gone down. It is renowned as one of the most famous scenes. It's possibly, I'm going to argue and say, is it the most famous scene of Classic Who? It's certainly the most famous unit scene.
It's up there. It's definitely it's definitely the most famous unit scene. Even I love this, and you know that I'm not a Pertwee guy. Yeah. It is right up there. Everything about Doctor Who's quirkiness is in it. And the Doctor's not even bloody in it.
No, but dear old Nick Courtney is in it.
He is.
The line originally, it's incredible to believe this, that the line originally was cut by Terence Dix. It was in the original script. So Dan said, when Dan knew we were going to be talking about this earlier, and he said, was it in the original script? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to see if I can find out. Well, it was in the original script. It was there in the original script as written by Barry Letts and Robert Sloman. But Terence Dix infamously cut it. And Barry Letts, to say who had co-written it, actually reinstated. He said to Terence, "No, I'm sorry, that line has got to go back in." And so Terence Dix very, very reluctantly put it back in because he thought it was an absolutely awful line. So it went back in at Barry Letts' insistence. And so what we can also tell as a result of this, because here we are looking at the very page from, this is the camera script that we're looking at. So towards the bottom there, you can see, and somebody has clearly, this is the copy of this script is from the BBC archive, and so it was in those days when they used to roll they didn't even have photocopies in those days. They had those old things that used to turn that camera on. Do you remember them?
I remember them. Yeah.
I remember those from school. And so clearly it didn't come out very well. So some poor devil has had to go through the script and rewrite in all the bits that didn't come out very well. So you can see the line just at the bottom there, the Brigadier, I see your point, never mind. We'll soon fix him. Corporal, chap with wings, 5 rounds rapid. So we know that that is the line as it appeared in the original script, which of course, interestingly, we now know is changed on location, because the line on location actually becomes Jenkins. So the corporal is given a name. Jenkins, chap with the wings there, 5 rounds rapid. Now, I think it's probably an ad lib on the part of Nick Courtney that the line gets changed.
Yeah. Or maybe he just said it differently, because sometimes actors do that, don't they? When
That's
they
what I
give
mean.
lines,
It just came out slightly different. Clearly, Jenkins. It was a conscious decision on somebody's part to give the corporal a name of Jenkins. But as I say, actually, people always say chap with wings. And in fact, that is the scripted line, but it's not the line as it appears in the show. It's chap with the wings there, 5 rounds rapid. Anyway, it's a brilliant scene.
Also, for the people who don't know, Simon, who was the chap with the wings?
And so the person we're looking at on screen was the chap with wings. It was Bock. It was the gargoyle. As you can see, he is a chap and he has wings. And
we don't know that he's a chap, do we, Ian?
No, we don't know somebody in a suit either.
Sorry, unconscious bias there. It could be a female. We should just we need to quantify that and say this could be a female. We apologise. But this, as I've said many times, it was Bock that absolutely terrified me as a 3-year-old, and that I'm now looking at on screen is my very earliest memory in life. That actual scene, in fact, Dan, by the bizarrest coincidence, you've picked the same scene, which is the end of episode 2. And it's that scene that I just absolutely remember so clearly as a kid.
Just slightly off subject, the script that you showed just now.
Yeah.
I remember they used to write that. They used to put it like that when they used to have TV scripts. They used to write that way. It's very much like the theatre way of writing scripts, isn't it? I don't think they don't write that way anymore, do they? It's a standard way now you write scripts.
It's standardized now, The mimeograph, on comics has just reminded me, it was a mimeograph. That's what they used to use. But yeah, you're right, Ian. Scripts look different to that now. That's a classic sort of television script, a classic layout for a television script. And anyway,
the original Weeping Angel speculates
it
Matthew
was,
Panda.
Well, they couldn't afford it anymore for the glove.
It doesn't stand up to close scrutiny. It's a good job that it's not in brilliant quality of the episodes, because if it was in a true HD, if it was from 35mm, it would probably look quite ropey. Bless him.
The glove got blown off when they fired the rocket launcher at him.
This has to be the first time we've ever covered a single scene or a moment in the diary, Simon, but it absolutely warrants it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I genuinely think it does. It truly is one of those iconic moments in Doctor Who. It's one of those things that if you don't appreciate this scene, you're watching the wrong show. You're not you're not a Doctor Who fan. It's as simple as that. And it's beautifully delivered. It's so underplayed by Nick Courtney, because he didn't know. It's one of those things that at conventions, Nick Courtney would constantly, it was one of his favourite stories, the same as the Eye Patch story and the same as the Chroma story from the Three Doctors. Those were his 3 favourite stories that he would trawl out every time at a convention. But he didn't know at the time he was filming it that it would become as iconic as it has. And you wonder, in all honesty, I think it became iconic because of the way Nick Courtney kept on retelling it at conventions. As fans, we just grew to love it because he told it with such aplomb. True star that he was. It's just a beautiful underplayed scene. So so now 53 years ago today, this was being filmed in Aldbourne. And we've said about this before now on the show, but anybody who has not yet been to Aldbourne, make this year your year to go. It is a truly fantastic location. It's immediately identifiable. You arrive in the village and you just suddenly realize, I've just walked into the set of the Demons. It will not disappoint. And there, of course, is the great man, Roger Delgado, right in the middle of the screen there, looking, commanding attention immediately. Your eyes immediately drawn to him, isn't it?
I don't know. Who's the girl in the middle? She's been in a lot of adverts, TV adverts. I can't.
The one in the
remember her
very,
name.
very middle. That's Olive Hawthorne, played by Damaris Heyman.
Yeah.
And there's Joe. There's Liz, Joe Grant, Katie Manning in Bessie.
I always remember Damaris in One Foot in the Grave, where Victor comes in.
Yes.
And the husband's just died, and she's selling the shoes, and she.
Yeah.
She's
in a lot of stuff.
The thing that I remember her most for is in The Young Ones, where Neil is out there walking on a heathland, and she comes up to him, and it's like a misty, foggy landscape, and she says to him, "Excuse me, do you dig graves?" And he says, "Well, yeah, they're all right."
Brilliant.
She was in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap as well. So she's doing a bloody everywhere.
She was in a lot. She was in a lot. Yeah.
Archie Collins says, "Is that Richard Franklin in the back of the shot?" I don't think it was. I think that might be an extra. I think that might. Oh no, actually, I might be changing my mind now. Now we're looking at it again. I think you could be right, Archie Collins. That could well be. Richard.
Do you remember
Franklin.
when they used to take photographs? It used to look like that, didn't it? You didn't know what you're going to get once you took it to Boots, and then 2 weeks later,
and they came back. And that is one of those photos. And this is a photo taken by a local. But you're right, Dan. Roger Delgado looks so cool in his shades. And so we're celebrating all things Masters really in the diary this week.
Love the Master, love him.
Brilliant.
Not the OT version, but these versions, they're fantastic.
Correct. I'm looking in the chat. Yes, it is spelled Aldbourne, or Archie Collin, ALDBOURNE. Go and check it out. Seriously, every Doctor Who fan needs a pilgrimage to Aldbourne. It does not disappoint. Anybody else on the panel been to Aldbourne?
No, not been.
I've never been. I keep meaning to. John,
my cool card's been taken away.
maybe that's. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Maybe that's where we should do our Type 40 meetup. Maybe we should meet in the green next to the.
So we can all Morris dance.
We'll all Morris dance.
Fly Highland says, "I was literally reading about Filthy Rich and Cat Flap a few hours ago. Haven't thought about it in years."
That's what we do.
I know that show line for line for line. I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. Darren Bradley reminds us that 5 Rounds Rapid became the title of Nicholas Courtney's biography. I can't remember. What did he write himself?
Yeah, it did indeed. You're correct, Darren. Spot on.
More memories of Mr. Magister.
Mr. Magister. Whenever you see Roger Delgado, you just hear that feed, that little in the background that Dudley Simpson came up with for him. Rod, have a pint. Yeah, Rob Alexander. That, of course, is the last line from Nick Courtney in the Demons. Rod, have a pint.
It's close to Swindon. I think they must be talking about Aldbourne there.
Yeah,
Richard Brooks and his
My sister lives in Swindon.
Richard Brooks asked, is the pub still open? Indeed it is. It's now called the Blue Boar. It is still open. The last time I was there, I'm afraid to say that the staff were very, very grumpy and did not want to talk about Doctor Who whatsoever. But interestingly, when Dan, you and I were at Capitol at the weekend, Katie Manning was there and she was talking about Aldbourne, and she was saying that apparently it's now under new management and the staff are now lovely. So yeah, it's still open. The Blue Boar is still there. And there are photos on the walls of the Demons.
Great. I was just about to say that question. Great.
Yeah, there are. They've also got on the wall, or at least they had a couple of years ago when I was last there. They've got a print of the cloven hoof sign also on the wall.
And the previous management weren't very good to the third Doctor either, were they? So they didn't like him in the pub.
Well, a fair point. Fair point.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I had heard that the pub was in trouble, so I'm really glad that it's
still there at the moment. Fingers crossed it will stay open.
Maybe they've been possessed. Speculates Peter Harrington there in the live chat. I think he's talking about the villagers or the pub, maybe.
I can, and just to be clear, Ezra Goldstein is asking in the chat just now, what's the name of the village where the Demons was filmed? That's what we're talking about, Ezra Goldstein. Aldbourne, ALDBOURNE, in Wiltshire, Aldbourne. That is where the Demons was filmed.
Go to that pub.
Go seriously. I cannot recommend it enough. Like Roger with his hands up there, he's saying, "Come on, guys, You just got to go to Oldbourne. You really have.
You've just done the Oldbourne Tourist Board, another service, Simon, as well as delivering us fantastic deep dives into Doctor Who nostalgia. They're stretching back through the decades with that master connection. Yeah,
we don't just throw these things together, you know. and brilliantly, the fact that the History Boys is screening right now on BBC4 for Sacha as well. You know,
I've never ever seen the History Boys, despite owning it on DVD. I think I bought it at a car boot sale last year or the year before.
Oh, seriously,
it's that good, is it? It's that good.
It's fantastic. It's really good film. You've got to see it. And this is five Doctor Who actors and actresses in there. So. Win-win.
Let us know what you think of all of this in the live chat. Your memories of Anthony Ainley, the best master.
The best master.
At least for this evening. The best master of the 80s. The best master that has ever been in Doctor Who.
That's
and
right.
Your memories, too, of that scene from The Demons there, whether you saw it in 1971 or whether you first found it on VHS or DVD or UK Gold or even Blu-ray. I think the magic still holds after 53 years in, was it? Did you say?
Yeah.
53.
What a brilliant performance Dargo gave to the master. Absolutely brilliant, seriously.
Yeah.
And then
Very
there's Sacha
creepy.
Dhawan, of course, a man who was able to crawl out from under the wreckage of the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who with a bit of dignity and his career left intact, which itself is a superhuman feat. And for that in itself, Sacha Dhawan will always have my respect. And in all sincerity, I am always interested in wherever he's going to turn up next. Thank you for putting the diary together again, Simon. It was really lovely choices and a pleasure to talk about. Let us know what you think of it all in the comment section too. Your praise for Simon, for Anthony Ainley, for Sacha Dhawan, for Oldbourne, for Bok, all that kind of thing.
More praise for Bok. Justice for Bok.
Just bring it, everybody. Just bring it.
You got to get those eyes on that picture. You got to get Simon's eyes on that picture. Come on.
Keep watching, everybody. Anything is possible. You are watching Type 40 Live, your live streamed magazine format Doctor Who show here, even. This is for me to say. Live streaming to YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and to X2. We've got comments in the live chat there as we go, and you can add your comments to after the fact, wherever you're watching it from in your own space-time continuum. We're all ears, and you can get involved in the discussion at any time, a bit like he did.
The universe is collapsing. The only way to save it is to watch Type 40.
Yes, one more thing, everybody. As ever, we're rounding things off with one last look at the view screen. It's our regular eye up your temporal schism in search of the prettiest pictures from out there across the Whoniverse. I'm talking fan art, whether it's digital art, traditional art, it could be cosplay, it could even be crafting of some kind. Whichever and however you've achieved those end results, we want to know about it. Get it all up on the screen so we can all have a good old look. Maybe we can get you some customers if you sell this stuff over at Etsy, or if you've got a website, we can get some traffic your way, get some traction and some eyes on your work. Yeah, so tell us where to find you, of course, at every available opportunity. We've got some good stuff coming up this time as ever. First, another nod to Darren Bradley for this fabulous piece of fan art for us. Our mock
magazine
cover there. Doctor Who magazine, Ian. He's turned it into Type 40 issue 150, and we've got lots of our greatest memories, Ian. And you with the great Hugh Grant there at the pot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Marvelous,
and there's Bok top right as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Shark Oil. And speaking of Bok and speaking of the demons, we've just been to Oldbourne. We're going back here courtesy of Andy Walker and his fabulous homage to Chris Achilleos and the Target book range here.
Oh,
that's very
that's rather good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's
great.
fantastic.
What's
I
the
was
odds,
really
eh,
taken
that
with
you
this.
got this picture and Simon
Who'd
was
have
talking
thought it,
about?
buddy? Who'd have thought
Yeah.
it? It's almost as we speak in the week, isn't it?
It's like we plan it.
Devious
That's fantastic. A masterful diary. Oh, Tony, that's very clever.
It's great. This is a great
it's
piece
beautiful,
of art.
isn't it? That
it's a really good piece of art.
Praise.
I mean, and actually, that is remarkably the Target book covers that they do of late, where they ape Chris Achilleos' style. I just think are awful because they don't actually look remotely like anything that Chris would have actually done. Whereas this genuinely, absolutely could be Chris. This undoubtedly could be Chris's work.
He hasn't tried to shortcut
No.
Chris's distinctive method that he would use to create those illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He probably hasn't used the same pen, that rotring pen, but I would imagine it's something not far off. And Andy, if you are out there, I would imagine that he's probably spoke to Chris at some point because Andy's been around for quite a long time. No offense, Andy. And their paths may well have crossed because Andy's a consummate and experienced and a very well published illustrator, but he's a massive Doctor Who fan, obviously a big fan of Chris's, and this is a labour of love, I would imagine.
And it has to be said, in all honesty, this is, please don't take this as sacrilege, but it is actually better than Chris's own cover for the Demons. Chris himself was sort of critical of his cover for the Demons. He felt that he hadn't got it right and that he did much better work later on, which I think is undoubtedly true. And actually, I think this is an absolutely cracking piece of work. I really do.
I want that. I do want that.
Yeah.
Have you never come across this before, anybody?
No, I've never seen this before.
No.
What? I presume it isn't done for anything specific. It is just purely. It's not going on a book.
Not that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong. As I say, Andy's very well published, so it could be. It could have been for DWM or maybe even DWB. It could be. I don't know how old it is, but I was aware of it. I've seen it quite recently, and I thought, we'll have that. We'll have that, Andy.
Really cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
I can picture that on my wall right now.
I think the reason I love this so much is this is very much a labour of love for Chris, whereas, as I say, some of those recent Target book covers are just kind of nasty rip-offs of Chris's work. And there's a massive difference. This is truly an homage as opposed to just a cheap and nasty rip-off, which a lot of those Target covers look like. Beautiful.
Look at the comments here in the live chat. That's a brilliant tribute to Achilleos' work, says Tony Farrell. Simple Nice says it all from Daryl Joyce. He should know. That's brilliant, says Cam's Crash Course. That's Doctor Who, says Ezra Goldstein. Can't argue with that. Beautiful. Simply beautiful there, John, from Peter Harrington. Superb, lovely. They just keep on coming. We'll have to speak to Andy. I know I'm connected to him on Twitter, so I'll have to have a chat with him.
Yeah, get him on the show.
Achilleos Kirby Crackle says, unmistakable. David Mullins says, I've got a lot of Andy's work, all brilliant.
I presume he doesn't always do homages to Achilleos. I'm assuming.
No, all sorts of artwork from Andy. He's everywhere. He does mostly traditional, but I think he does ink and I think he paints too. So yeah, I've been seeing Andy's work dotted around here and there for literally decades, but I hadn't seen this until quite recently. I thought, well, I'll squirrel that away because I'll probably want to use it for the live stream. So I'm glad everybody else loves it just as much as I did. Speaking of consummate Doctor Who artists, had to mention this as well. This is a new cover, but it's not new artwork, but it's sort of a new arrangement and a new design of several classic pieces by our friend Colin Howard. The VHS book cover legend, really nice guy. He was also at the Capitol at the weekend, so it was good to see him again after so many years. They were his lovely wife. They were in the auction as well, having the time of their lives, and obviously they were selling various prints as well, as Colin does. His work's still incredibly popular, and this is the front cover to this new book by Candy Jar Books, 60 Years of Doctor Who Assistants Companions. It's written by Philip Bates and Andy Frankham Allen, and Colin has provided this fabulous illustration there. So you've got a ring of companions. So the artwork, the companion illustrations are taken from other works of Colin's, It's got the TARDIS there in the background, and then the dead centre there, tribute to us there with Type 40 there.
Yeah, I'm sure they put the Type 40 on there especially for us.
Really kind, Colin. Thank you so much. It's very, very touching, mate. Very touching. I like this. I mean, we're big fans of what Candy John books do here, aren't we, Simon?
Yeah.
I don't think you can ever have too many books on the companions. There's always something new to add, depending on the people's perspective of these characters. I do like reading about them.
And I just, some of the likenesses on here are just brilliant. Sarah Sutton, bottom right, Mark Strickson just above her, the Liz Sladen, the Nicola Bryant, just the Katie Manning, the Sophie Aldred. They're just brilliant likenesses. It's just think it's a lovely piece of work.
I think you're right with the Sarah Sutton one in particular. It is so beautiful,
almost photographic,
exactly like her. Yeah, but he's managed to capture the personalities of the others really, really well as well.
Yeah, and Colin is just one of the nicest people that you will ever hope to meet. As Dan says, we did bump into him at the weekend at Capitol, and if you ever get the chance, if you're ever to convention and Colin is there selling his wares, just go over and have a chat to him. He genuinely is one of the nicest people you will ever.
He's so humble as well, isn't he? Yeah, you know, his work has been literally everywhere. Obviously, Red Dwarf fans will know Colin's work only too well as well. He's synonymous with that brand for a very, very long time. And there's Doctor Who calendars and so many identifiable VHS sleeves. But the fact that his work can be rearranged in this way, it was only after I'd looked at it a couple of times I thought, oh yeah, that's from the Armageddon Factor VHS cover, you know, the Mary Tam one. Because it just looks like the most natural thing in the world, John.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I've spoken to him a couple of times, and as Simon was saying, he's such a lovely guy. But I've got some of his stuff, but I've always loved it. He's great, isn't he? Keep him coming, please.
And his wife.
I watched your interview with Colin just a couple of days ago. That's cool.
Well done.
Playlists. We spoke to Colin, we spoke to Jeff Cummins, obviously we spoke to Chris Akaleos too. So yeah, we've been blessed with some really great company with some fabulous artists. You're next, Daryl. You're next. That's a hint, buddy. That's a hint.
Yeah, definitely, Daryl.
Rob Alexander says that the likenesses are spot on. Of course they are. It's Colin Howard. What more do you expect? More. Yeah, head over to Colin's social media.
I'm just going to say, Nicholas Horton has just... Hello, Nicholas Horton. I know you're just down the road from me, and you're a Horton. Woohoo! Brilliant. And I hadn't spotted until Nicholas had pointed out K9 is on the cover. And I missed that.
Right between...
There he is, between Tegan and Nyssa.
Yeah.
That's lovely. I completely missed that K9's there. Oh, that's made my day.
It's not a bad place to be fair, is it really?
Oh.
Between Romana, Perry,
Mary Tam.
Yeah.
Some
sandwich between the three of them.
All the look, yeah.
They do.
Yes, speaking of animals, sort of. Is K9 an animal? No, not really. He's a robot, but no.
We know where you're going with it.
I'm going wherever I'm going. I think I'll just skip to the next piece instead. It's got a TARDIS on it. It's got a TARDIS on it as well, Simon. It's the Matt Smith era this time. This fabulous cartoon from Anna Selden. Featuring the Pink Panther and the 11th Doctor together at last. The Panther is daubing the Doctor's TARDIS in bright pink. Russell T Davies would probably be bang up for this in a couple of years' time. I wouldn't put it past him at all.
Oh, maybe that's what the colour it should be. Of course it should be pink, not blue. Yep. Of course it should. Quite right. Come on, Russell.
It's gendered. It's a gendered colour again now.
Sorted. I love this. I mean, ironically, if anything, I just think it should be Sylvester there because, of course, this is it gets painted pink in the Happiness Patrol. It doesn't matter. It's lovely. It's a really fun piece of artwork.
Yep, it is.
Now we know. Big fan of the Pink Panther, Ian. I bet you are as well, aren't you? The old movies, the Black Edwards films.
I tell you what, I always used to feel sorry for the Pink Panther, the cartoon. Remember, BBC used to show it. And when the car used to go and he was running after it, feel sorry for the Pink Panther.
Car was so cool. That car.
Summer holidays, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know what? For other kids, it was Kit from Knight Rider. For me, it was the Pink Panther's car. It was the coolest car on TV.
Awesome car.
It was. I think it was called the Panther, wasn't it? I think it was called. It was a real car. And it was called the Panther.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think I'm maybe.
I might be mistaken. Was it a boy that was driving that?
Yeah, it was a boy. Yeah, it was a boy. Yeah, it was about 12.
12.
Rinky Dink. That's it, Daryl. Rinky Dink. That's why it used to be the Rinky Dink Panther.
I've forgotten about the kid driving with a crash helmet on.
Yeah, it was about 12.
Yeah, really, really weird.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness we've been saved from all. We're saved from all that nonsense now. We'd never have, you know.
Now we know where J.J. Abrams got the idea for Star Trek, don't we? Pink Panther.
That's absolutely fabulous, says Tony L.
Yeah, it is. It's a great piece. That really fun.
Yeah, I like it. It's all right, says Ezra Golson. It's a bit lukewarm on this.
Take a lot to impress, Ezra. There we go.
So cool. Knight Rider Kit was cool though.
Yeah, but not as cool as the Pink Panther's car. Sorry.
I had Pink Panther wafers the other day. Confesses Fly Island.
Do they still do those? They clearly do. Wow.
Yeah, they do. It was a real car. Yeah, Richard
was a
Brooks.
real
It
car.
was.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a real car.
Nose,
what a great theme.
Archer, we've all got the song in our heads now.
Yeah, what a great theme.
The one and only truly original Panther, Pink Panther from head to toe.
Yeah.
Can you get that on DVD? Can you? I've never seen it anywhere.
I've never seen it. No.
Well, it's hard to get. It's hard to get that show and Banana Splits. It's hard to get that too as well. Banana Splits and the original Banana Splits and the original Pink Panther. I think it's all down to copyright because of the Expector Clouseau. In fact, they never called him Expector Clouseau; just called him Expector, didn't they?
Inspector, yeah, he's Inspector.
Yeah, they did.
So I don't know.
I don't know whether I'd recommend it.
Would you recommend? Says YW. Well, it's been a long time.
I don't know. We were kids at the time. Maybe it just would it actually work now? Oh, I do remember the Pink Panther chocolate bar.
Yeah, I do.
Chocolate bar. Well done, Rob. Forgotten about that.
I would recommend the Pink Panther cartoons. They're really funny.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Really
They are
funny.
good.
Yeah,
but I don't know whether would people get them these days? I'd say, was it something you had to be the kid at the time? I don't know.
Well, they had the Christmas special, which I loved, the Pink Panther Christmas special, which had no dialogue in it whatsoever. It was just music and whatever. It was really great.
But the music, the theme music to the TV show, just was one of the coolest theme tunes of all time, bar none. Yeah. So if you do nothing else, YW234, just go and look on YouTube. I'm sure that the TV theme will be on there. It's fabulous. It's the best.
Crimpling the Balloon says, yes, there was a box set of all the Pink Panther cartoons.
Yes.
I don't know if it's still available. I've got that, but I'm not sure whether those are the same ones. I thought they were ones that went round the cinema as kind of B movies, B-roll things before actual films.
No, it was
rather
made for
than
TV.
the TV show that we grew up watching. I think there could
No,
be
what-
two sets of cartoons. I'm not sure.
So you don't. What you're saying is you don't know whether it's the TV version that made it onto the DVDs.
I think it's the TV versions that made it onto the DVDs. They used to make a little short film that did, but I think the ones that were on TV were made especially for TV. I'm not sure.
Yeah, those were definitely.
Yeah, for TV.
Strawberry milk chocolate. Yeah, it was, Peter. Strawberry.
I want to go backwards in time. Please get me a TARDIS right now.
It was probably the bar with a moulded Pink Panther on it, wasn't it? God, I'd give anything to get
Once
that.
again, we have a lot of people watching here across the platforms on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. It's going up now. We started talking about the Pink Panther. Where are you?
We should do a whole show on the Pink Panther. We're doing the wrong show, folks.
I had a dinky Pink Panther car which had a pulled lead on it and a rubber front when it crashed into the walks. Stephen,
in the walls, I
have you been
presume.
drinking?
No, he's probably been eating those Pink Panther chocolates. They were packed with chemicals, let's be honest.
It's chucking out time. Stephen, I don't know what you're talking about, mate, but it sounds like you had a lot of fun. More power to you, my friend. More power to you. And more power to Nick Draws. Nick Draws, not Nick's Draws. Nick Draws. It's the final piece of artwork to finish off the view screen on this edition of Type 40 Live, and it's back to the TARDIS, back to 2024, and back to looking just over a week into the future and the beginning of all new Doctor Who Season 1. This is Nick Draws' take on the new Doctor, the 15th Doctor, and Ruby Sunday off into adventure there. I love how colourful this is. I love how full of energy it is. I like Nick's work quite a lot. This is digital, I think. And I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it reminds me of the where they did the Marvel animated a couple of years ago. It's got that kind of style to it.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. They did one with the Hulk versus Wolverine, didn't they?
That's it. Yeah, that's the one.
Very nice. Yeah, and I think he has got a shooty smile. He could be working on Millie's likeness because we can't see her face. So, but no, I like the fact that we've got the different colours of the interior of the TARDIS as well. So he's obviously been paying attention to all the things that the new console room can do. The disco TARDIS, Ian, that's what we'll have to start calling it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to call it now. But anyway, it's a good drawing. It's a shame. He has that Doctor on there, but whatever.
So much colour, love that, says YW. Back to the Future, says Lorthoth. Yes, and lots of people still talk about the Pink Panther though. So
got pink in there.
That's got
pink. Notice this picture from Nick Draws. Everybody's far too interested in the Pink Panther. This did catch my eye. As I say, I think it's very, very energetic.
It's nice. It's nice.
Even if you feel a little bit, in a darker place about some of the bloody silly things that people are saying and doing connected with the brand at the moment, when you see images like this, you think, maybe for 7 weeks, very, very soon, maybe it could end up being okay, and we may end up with that spirit of adventure that we feel when we watch proper Doctor Who, that Doctor Who feeling. That's what we want. It's not much to ask for. Nick gets it quite clearly. Nick Draws. His stuff is out there on X and Instagram. Nick definitely gets it here on the evidence of this piece. So let's hope that they do at Bad Wolf, Sony, and Disney Plus as well. Going to the disco, says Stephen Bradnick. Looks like they are. Going for a boogie. Could be. Do people still boogie? Or is that's too 1970s? There's probably another word.
I think shows are right.
I think I'll just move on from that. Yes, if you are a fan artist or a fan artist, whether they work digitally or traditionally, whether it's cosplay, that's a kind of art too as well, isn't it? Or whether it could be craft or any other kind of Doctor Who fan art, you need to send them our way or us their way. Whatever, we're not really sure. We don't really care how we get to one another as long as we find their work and we can put it up on the view screen here for people to see and to enjoy, to salivate over, and to critique. So please send us their website addresses, their Instagram pages, their DeviantArt pages, anything like that, or you can get in touch with us through our social media. That's Instagram and X at Type40 Doctor Who there. Cut out the middleman if you like, and head over to the Type 40 Facebook group and you can plaster them across the wall. Links and artwork always appreciated. And of course, in the Type 40 Facebook group, there are lots of other members too, generations upon regenerations worth of Doctor Who fans. I'm not saying all 4 of these guys are members, but for all you know, they could be. And the only way to find out for certain is by joining us over in the Type 40 Facebook group. Ian, I'm wondering, dare I hold hope for the future? Dare I hold hope for the new episodes that are coming our way? What advice would you give anybody staring into the abyss of the next 7, how many days is it? 8 or 9 days. What advice would you give them?
Just good luck, everybody. That's what I say.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Hit them with the good stuff each and every time. This fabulous piece of fan art there. Another mega fan, courtesy of Cole Grayus. She's a good girl. She's not a tart, but these are definitely tarts. And it's time. Yeah, you shouldn't be eating at this time of night if you've been with us the entire time, let alone 3 whole jam tarts. But we can look, can't we, Simon? We can look, and our mouths can water as we imagine.
I don't even like jam tarts. Am I the only one that doesn't actually like jam tarts?
I'm partial, particularly to a lemon curd one.
What about Jaffa cakes? You like
now you're talking.
Could find room. I haven't had a jam tart in heaven knows how. I'm talking about 9 years.
Yeah, when did you last have a pink wafer?
Now, even longer, because when my kids were little, my daughter when she was little. So not quite as long as I thought, but I last had pink wafers a lot more recently than I had a jam tart.
I can still taste pink wafers. I haven't had one for years, but I can remember the taste of pink wafers.
The thing about them though, pink wafers, jam tarts, all these things. If you're anything like me, you look at them in a picture, you think, "Oh wow, I'll have one of those," and then I forget all about it.
Oh no, I buy them and I eat them.
I put them past them in the supermarket all the time.
Yeah, well, I never used to buy them separately, but they always used to come with the Christmas tin box of biscuits, didn't they? They always used to be in there.
They did.
They're not. Yeah.
I forgot that. You're right.
Party rings is like heroin for me, you know.
Party rings.
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter loved party rings as well.
You mean the ice ones? The ice.
Yeah, hold on, just chew them.
She used to eat them off her fingers. We're joined by Andrew Ireland, former Type 40 guest there. Andrew Ireland, the man behind the fabulous Mission to the Unknown live action recreation from a few years ago. He was guest on episode 45, I think it was, of the podcast. Good to see you, Andrew. Looking forward to the new era. You know, so am I, Andrew. I still hold a lot of hope. I know there's been a lot of bad publicity lately, but yeah, I do believe in these stars and these characters, and I'm holding hope that we're going to get something special somehow over the next 8-9 weeks. We're going to get delivered some gold, and it will take shape, and an all new era will truly begin. This is here at Type 40 Live. You know, we do give things a kick in, and people a kick in from time to time. This is the home of free speech and Doctor Who. But I'm certainly an optimist nature. I think you are as well, aren't you, Simon?
I am. I'm very, very much a glass half full rather than glass half empty person. So I'm really praying that I'm proven wrong on this one. I really am.
We shall see. We shall see. Great diary, Diamond. Great diary, Simon. Thanks for reminding us that Doctor Who is actually brilliant.
It is.
There we go.
It is quite brilliant, actually, isn't it, Doctor Who, when you think about it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ian, says YW. Don't know what for, Ian, but you got to thank you anyway.
Thanks.
Hey, go for it. Take it on.
Good luck, everybody.
I think it's for the hope. Ian in a wig, says Matthew Penta. What?
I don't know
What's
what
this?
that's about.
Yeah, what's been going on? That's what I want to know.
I don't know what
No
that's
idea.
about.
Matthew's also been on the sauce. We've got Sounds Tasty. I think we're back to the tarts again.
Yeah.
Or was it the pink wafers? Jammy Dodgers. Stephen's only mentioned
Jammy
Jammy Dodgers.
Jammy Dodgers
dear.
with cream. They never make no cream anymore. It's just
No, they used to have a layer of cream.
Yeah.
Andrew says, I don't like jam, but I like jam tarts. Go figure. I can't
Nope.
figure, Andrew.
Can't figure that one, Andrew. That doesn't work.
It's not. Yeah, I think we best not go into that one. Mark Kavanagh says, shout out for the Aardvark 2. There we are.
That's got to be the most obscure comment of the night, I would say.
Even Ncuti can't make head and tail of that one. The brain of the universe himself. Okay, yes, we have had a fabulous one here. Thank you, everybody. We've been streaming to Rumble, to X, to YouTube, and to Facebook with this edition of Type 40 Live. And thank you for joining in with all these fabulous comments. They're still coming. My God. Hello, says Andrew. Hello. Goodbye. Sadly, Andrew, we're about to shoot off back into the vortex, but we'll be back for more. Yes, more. Yeah. Watch what you're saying, Sunshine. Watch what you're saying. He's off as well to prepare for season 1 of his Doctor Who. John, thank you for joining us on this one, mate. Hope you've had some fun.
Yeah, had great fun. Thanks,
Despite
guys.
everything. Do you feel the need? Are you going to go and touch some grass now, or are you going to leave it till the morning?
Oh, well, to be honest, I'm more disturbed about female Ian Diaz picture. That's just wrong on so many levels.
You go touch grass now. Go. Still, it's dark out, but you can go and touch grass. No, nobody will stare. The neighbours will be fine. Nobody will notice. Thanks again, John. Hope to have you back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. It's great fun. See you again.
Simon, well, we seem to have overrun again, mate.
Every week. It's because we're having fun.
This is it. When people say we're a bunch of somebody on one of the social media says we're a bunch of miserable sad sacks.
I know.
Have you seen? We never stop laughing doing this.
It's brilliant. I love the fact we keep getting called miserable sods. I don't know what my miserable sod is, but it's not mine. There we go.
Because we'll be back with another helping next time, won't we? You might not be. I know you're flitting around, aren't you, through other duties in space and time, Simon? But
I'm here next week. I'm here. I'm sorry, you're not getting rid of me next week. Am I here next week? Hold on, I've actually got to consult the Doctor Who diary. Yeah, I'm here next week.
Next week. Happy days, everybody. Happy days. And Ian David Diaz, you started frowning, mate, but you're smiling now.
Because you're talking about real Doctor Who. Hey! That's why I'm smiling. God's sake.
I've had a blast. Yes, reach out to us through those social medias, Instagram and X at Type40 Doctor Who by all means, or leave us a comment about any of this nonsense that we've been speaking about on this edition of the show. We genuinely mean it. Let us know when you plan on touching grass, or have you already touched grass? These are the questions we need to know in the comments section, wherever you find it and wherever you touch it. God, that sounds awful. Join us again next time. Same time and space. More hot takes, cold shoulders, pet peeves on the next Type 40 Live. Heaven knows what will be happening in 7 days' time. We always have the time if you have the space right here at Type 40. Whatever happens, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, hello.